Chapter 61. Old Black stands up. Lu Ji, what do we do now? Zhang Tianfu stammered, visibly shaken. Griffin. He'd only ever encountered that name in novels. And, without exception, the griffins in those novels were exceptionally powerful, far beyond the capabilities of ordinary monsters. Can you taunt it? Lu Zhan asked. I'll try, Zhang Tianfu replied, raising his shield and activating the taunt skill. But nothing happened. Whether it was the distance or the griffin's outright disregard for the skill, it simply didn't work. Taunt wasn't a guaranteed success. If there was too great a power disparity between the two, Zhang Tianfu could use it 100 times and still not connect even once. Here's a skill point for you. Upgrade Taunt. Lu Zhan pulled out the skill point that had dropped from the violent demon ape Zhang Tianfu. Had helped kill, returning it to its rightful owner. Don't use it hastily. Wait for the right moment, when it dives down. Then use it. Also, remember to activate powerful assistance and add all my undead to the team. Zhang Tianfu didn't hesitate. He immediately took the skill point and used it to upgrade Taunt. Don't worry, Lu Ji. I won't let you down. Between the equipment and the skill, if he failed to taunt, he wouldn't have the face to stick with Lu Ji. In the sky, the 5 griffins finally launched their attack. As soon as Lu Zhan saw their wings move, he cursed silently. His worst fear had come to pass. The 5 griffins cried out in unison, then rapidly beat their massive wings. The next moment, countless feather arrows rained down upon them. Damn it! Lu Zhan swore, turning to Zhang Tianfu. Get over here. Stand behind me. All of his tactics had been predicated on the griffins swooping down to attack them directly. But instead, they were launching a ranged attack, completely ruining his plan. If the griffins just stayed in the air, firing arrows, he really wouldn't be able to do anything to them. He had to lure them down. Without hesitation, Zhang Tianfu hid behind Lu Zhan. It wasn't that he was afraid of death, but he knew Lu Zhan's personality. Just do what he said. Swish, swish, swish. A barrage of feather arrows struck Lu Zhan's body. But Lu Zhan didn't dodge. He stood firm, like a statue. His physique stat was at least 150 now. He could withstand this round of arrows without a problem. Of course, it still hurt. Several arrows were embedded directly in his flesh. Lu Zhan casually plucked out the arrows, drawing a little blood. After pulling them out, he even laughed and taunted the griffins. Is that all you've got? Lu Zhan was trying to give the griffins the impression that their arrows were useless. Griffins were, after all, mid to high level monsters. Even just ordinary ones had some intelligence. If the griffins knew their arrows were effective, they might just stay in the air, continuously firing arrows until they killed their target. But the intelligence of ordinary griffins was limited. When they realized their arrows weren't working, they would likely charge. These small tricks for dealing with monsters would be survival basics everyone would have to learn in the future. And sure enough, the 5 griffins, seeing that their arrows were ineffective, began squawking loudly in the sky, sounding quite frustrated. Come on, hurry up, little birds. Come at me, I dare you. Lu Zhan kept urging them silently. These griffins were so damn slow, just making noise but not actually coming down to attack him. If only he had wings. But his mage was so useless, he didn't even have a ranged attack skill. Damn it. Just as the 5 griffins were preparing to charge down, a domineering roar suddenly echoed through the heavens. Roar! What the hell are you yelling about? You're disturbing my meal. The voice was familiar and yet strange. Lu Zhan immediately looked in its direction. He saw a large black dog, crackling with lightning, staring intently at the griffins in the sky. Most frighteningly, the dog's body was constantly growing larger. Visibly increasing in size, it had more than doubled, standing a full head taller than Lu Zhan and almost 5 meters long. Its size was on par with the rampaging gorilla from before. Black G, it's mutated? Zhang Tianfu said incredulously. Within the group, his status was undoubtedly the lowest. Lu Zhan was Lu Ji. Number 1 was number 1 G. And Old Black was naturally Black G. That ogre heart. Did I waste it on that old dog? Lu Zhan said with a touch of envy. Clearly, after all this time, Old Black had finally completed its transformation through the ogre heart. He didn't know exactly what an ogre was, but the ogre prefix certainly fit Old Black's current state. If he had eaten it, Would he have been able to grow larger, too? To be able to freely change sizes was one of the most popular abilities for men, but he wasn't sure he could withstand the transformation process. Woof, woof, woof. Are those the only little birds? Disturbing my meal? These barks were strangely out of place with Old Black's domineering appearance. In the sky, the 5 griffins seemed to sense the strength of their opponent. They beat their wings, preparing to flee. They weren't stupid goblins who only knew how to charge. But the next moment, a thick bolt of lightning shot out from Old Black's body, accompanied by his howls. Woof, woof, did I let you leave? With a boom. No matter how fast the griffins flew, they couldn't outrun lightning. They were struck directly, and all 5 of them were hit by the same bolt of lightning. A terrifying aura exploded in the sky. The 5 griffins lasted less than 3 seconds before plummeting from the sky, crashing to the ground, emitting a burnt smell. Not only were they dead, but they were cooked. Even Zhan was stunned. 1 second wipe? Of 5 griffins? Damn. Old Black was awesome. All that time spent raising him had paid off. Woof, woof, smells good. Smells delicious. After that one blast, Old Black's body quickly shrank, soon returning to its original size. He trotted over, eager to taste the griffins. Wait, don't eat them yet. Zhan quickly stopped him. Woof, what? I'm very powerful now. Be careful or I'll strike you with lightning. Old Black immediately protested. Try striking me, Zhan said with a sneer. He could tell that Old Black's attack had been extremely draining. It looked cool, but he was genuinely weakened. Woof, woof, wah. Where's my boss? I want my boss to come and stand up for me. All right, stop shouting. It's not like I won't let you eat. Zhan said helplessly. He walked over, first sacrificing an undead ape, then looked at the griffins on the ground, his eyes gleaming. Chapter 62, Undead Griffins. He wanted to see if the griffins could still fly after being reincarnated. When monsters were reincarnated as undead, many of their original special abilities and skills disappeared. But flying was almost instinct for a griffin, part of its very being. So, logically, an undead griffin should also be able to fly. After a short while, a fragrant undead roast griffin was officially born. Becoming undead hadn't diminished its burnt aroma. To be honest, even Zhan couldn't resist the urge to take a bite. Undead griffin. Trait: undead. Strength: 75. Physique: 68. Agility: 87. So powerful, even at ordinary rank. No wonder it's a griffin. Take off. Zhan immediately issued the command in his mind. The undead griffin started to flap its wings, and, sure enough, it flew. Good. He finally had an air force. A smile spread across Zhan's face. After a few more commands, he found that the undead griffin's flying speed wasn't as fast as when it was alive, but it was still pretty good. I'll give you one to eat, and the rest are mine. Zhan unceremoniously claimed the other 3 griffins, feeling generous enough to leave one for Old Black. Woof, woof. Old Black whimpered in protest, but it quickly picked up its griffin and began gnawing. He was an easily satisfied dog. Zhan ignored him, first sacrificing 3 undead apes and then reincarnating the 3 griffins. For undead griffins, even without ranged attacks, were extremely powerful. This was a minor episode. With that over, Zhan resumed his unfinished work. Reincarnate. Sacrifice. Reincarnate again. Sacrifice again. 2 hours later, Zhan stood up and looked around. The ground, once littered with corpses, was now empty. Everything usable had been reincarnated and sacrificed. The unusable parts had been eaten by Old Black. Perhaps it was because it had just completed its transformation, but the dog's appetite was enormous. Unfortunately, he hadn't been able to upgrade all the undead to elite rank. He only had 12 elite undead, leaving 10 as ordinary rank. Even so, Zhan's strength and physique stats were both nearing 200, and agility was almost 180. It was ridiculous. He was stronger than ever before. He turned to Old Black, provoking him. Old Black, didn't you want to strike me with lightning? Come on, let's fight. Woof, woof, I just ate. I need to digest. I won't fight you. Old Black wasn't stupid. He wasn't going to fall for that. Zhan didn't care. He jumped on the dog's back and said, let's go into town. As soon as they entered the town, Zhang Tianfu was stunned by the sight. The original houses had all disappeared, replaced by trees. The trees weren't very tall, and he didn't know what kind they were. They looked like the ones the apes had just planted. Only the outer ring of the town still had the original houses, perhaps specially kept by the rampaging gorilla. In order to disguise the town as a normal human settlement, luring people into a trap, Zhan wasn't surprised. Human houses weren't suitable for monsters to live in. If monsters occupied this place, they would certainly transform it. If he hadn't arrived, this place might have become a complete primeval forest after a while. Have the people of the heavenly god come to save us? Yes, it must be. The beasts are all gone. They must have been killed. Haha, we're saved. We're finally saved. I knew it. I knew someone would come to save us. Poor my daughter. She didn't make it. At that moment, a chorus of wails sounded from ahead. There are people, Lu Ji. There are people up ahead, Zhang Tianfu said with some delight. He wasn't a saint, but he had normal values. If he could help people within his ability, he was willing to lend a hand. Of course, Zhang Tianfu didn't rush forward. He was waiting for Lu Zhan's decision. If Lu Zhan said not to save them, he definitely wouldn't interfere. In the apocalypse, you had to be selfish to survive. Let's go, let's take a look, Lu Zhan said calmly. He wasn't surprised. If there was no one in this town, the rampaging gorilla wouldn't have chosen to build its base here. Moreover, he could imagine the current state of those people. After all, he had experienced it himself. A minute later, a hellish scene appeared before Zhang Tianfu, causing him to tremble involuntarily. The apes had dug a huge pit in the ground, covered with thick iron chains, like an underground cage. And inside were the apes' food, humans. Looking at the pit, there were at least 500 or 600 people crammed together. There were no living facilities inside the pit. Even above ground, Lu Zhan could smell the stench. The rampaging gorilla knew how to store food, but not how to store it properly. At this rate, these people would either be eaten or starve and die from disease. When the people in the pit saw Old Black's ferocious appearance, they retreated in fear, huddled together, their eyes filled with despair. The apes were gone, but the starving wolves had come. It wasn't a good thing for them. But soon, when they saw Lu Zhan and Zhang Tianfu, their faces lit up with hope and excitement. Excuse me, are you people from Heavenly God? Have you come to save us? Heroes, save us, let us out. Hurry, save me. I'm the son of, save me and I'll give you 10 million. Quiet. Lu Zhan frowned. The next moment, Old Black roared and shot out lightning, which flashed across the iron chains above. The people below were terrified and dared not make any more noise. Pull all these people up and find a clever, sensible person to come and see me. Lu Zhan turned to Zhang Tianfu and instructed. Oh, and don't worry about the one who called himself I. Let him stay down there. If anyone dares to pull him up, stay down there with him. After saying that, Lu Zhan patted Old Black's head and rode him towards the few remaining houses. He wasn't a monkey. He didn't like living in trees. Yes, Lu Ji, Zhang Tianfu said with a smile. If Lu Zhan told him not to care about it, he would definitely do it, but he would inevitably feel some guilt. Now that Lu Ji said to save people, that was naturally the best thing to do. Once Lu Zhan left, Zhang Tianfu immediately pulled open the chains and placed one end into the pit. Climb out yourself. Take care of the children and women. That guy, the one who just called himself I, you stay put. If you move, I'll kill you. Old Black's lightning had not only been to intimidate, but also to fry all the locks on the chains. Lu Ji did things so thoroughly. Chapter 63, Grave Robber. Although there was no longer a threat from the apes, the rescue still took more than an hour. Everyone was finally out of the pit, except, of course, for the I. In this life and death moment, no one would care about such a person. Damn it, damn it, damn it. When I get out, I'll tell my dad to kill you all. You trash, you useless pieces of garbage. I kept yelling enraged. Suddenly, a large stone came from nowhere and hit him directly in the head. It was instantly silent. No one knew who threw the stone, and no one would investigate. They had experienced too much death in the past few days. One more death was nothing. As long as they were still alive, that was all that mattered. What's your name? Inside the house, Zhan sat in a chair and asked. In front of him, a person knelt directly on the ground, with a look of awe. This was not what Zhan had asked for, but it was what he took initiative to do, commonly known as licking boots. Hero, my name is Wang Yi. You can call me Little Wang. This was the person Zhang Tianfu had brought. It was said that when he was imprisoned before, this was the guy who had been trying to escape, and he was also very clever. Call me Lu Ji. Zhan said. The word hero was too heavy. He couldn't afford to be addressed that way. Okay, Lu Ji. Was it you who contacted the Heavenly God organization? Zhan asked. The main reason why he called this person here was because of this. This so-called Heavenly God organization. He had never heard of it in his previous life. Either it was extremely mysterious, or it had been destroyed very early and had not caused any waves at all. But this name gave Zhan an unavoidable feeling, and he had to pay attention to it. Of course, it would be best if it were just overthinking. Lu Ji, it's me. Aren't you a member of the Heavenly God organization? Wang Yi was stunned first, then he immediately reacted and said, Lu Ji, this is my cell phone. I managed to hide it. I posted a rescue message on the forum, and then the Heavenly God organization contacted me and asked for the specific location. They said they would come to rescue us soon. Look, this is our chat history. Zhan took the phone and looked at it. There was indeed a chat history. The other party's name was Heavenly God number 24, and the content was the same as what Wang Yi said. Heavenly God number 24, which meant that there were at least 24 people in this organization. Well, Zhan shook his head. He still didn't want to think about it. If the other party was really capable, they would probably come in the next few days. He would contact them when that time came. Returning the phone to the other party, Zhan suddenly asked, Are you familiar with this area? Like where there are villages, etc.? Yes, Lu Ji. I grew up here. I am very familiar with the big and small villages and towns nearby. I can walk there with my eyes closed. Wang Yi said quickly. Zhan nodded and said, Okay, you can go down. By the way, find someone whose profession is a chef to come over. Wang Yi took the phone and said without the slightest hesitation, Okay, Lu Ji, I'll go right away. Wang Yi was obviously a clever person. He knew what these big shots liked and what they hated. If you pestered them, it would only make them annoyed. What you had to do was unconditionally obey any order from the big shot. After the person left, Zhan stood up and walked to the window. Below, a large group of people was surrounding a young man, their eyes full of curiosity and eagerness. In front of the young man was a large pile of trees, which had just been cut down. After that, he saw the young man waving his hands, as if casting a magic spell. Then, those trees were controlled by the magic and slowly turned into a small wooden house, just enough for 2 people to live in. Damn, is this too magical? Amazing! Yeah, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have chosen this warrior. It would be better to be an architect. If I had this ability before, I would have become a civil engineering tycoon long ago. Little Wang, quickly help my uncle build one too. A group of people who had just escaped from death marveled. Everything that happened in front of them was completely magical. This world was completely different. Zhan was naturally not surprised at all. This was the most basic skill of an architect. In his previous life, he had even seen an architect who was over level 60 waving his hand and directly building a magnificent palace with a large number of materials. Of course, the self-survival ability of this kind of life profession was too poor, and they had to be supported by strong people. The reason why he wanted to find a chef just now was also because the chef profession was also magical, turning rotten things into miraculous things. For this reason, he had specially hidden some ape meat. Chefs use monster meat to make delicacies, which were not only extremely delicious, but also likely to increase attributes. Now that number 1 was still in the evolution stage, to be safe, he decided to recuperate in this town for a day, which was a rare enjoyment after the apocalypse. While waiting, Zhan opened the exchange. That gorgeous revolver had already been bought, and 10,000 gold coins were credited, plus the gold coins from killing so many apes. He now had more than 50,000 gold coins, and it would not be an exaggeration to call him a rich man. As usual, he still looked at the materials needed for Blood's elegy. As expected, there were some discoveries. 500 grams of meteorite iron from beyond the sky, which was exactly the amount needed for Blood's elegy, and a smile appeared on Lu Zhan's face. However, when he saw the price, damn it, 20,000 gold coins. It was simply sky high. Damn it, it's Bai Hu, right? It's best not to be caught by me, or I will make you spit it all out. Lu Zhan cursed bitterly, but still bought all these things. He was just venting his dissatisfaction. The names on this were not real names. Even if he really met them in the future, he wouldn't know who they were. And at this time, thousands of miles away, a man was lying on the grass, humming a song, drinking wine, his body full of dirt, his face covered in dirt, but he was very happy. Suddenly, Huluer sneezed loudly, and then he received a system notification in his mind. He was shocked and stood up, saying in disbelief, "Damn, there really is a big fool buying this thing?" He glanced at the name, Lonely and Invincible. Damn, it's Shuang Baifin. Huluer complained, but it didn't matter. It had nothing to do with him whether he was pretending to be a badass or not, as long as he had money. Huluer immediately clicked to add the other party as a friend. Lu Zhan was putting the meteorite iron from beyond the sky that he had bought into the storage ring, when he heard a system prompt. Ding, Bai Hu has added you as a friend. Damn, he came to his door himself. Lu Zhan showed a sneer and chose to agree. Bai Hu, brother, you're rich, lonely and invincible. It's okay. What's the matter? Bai Hu, brother, is there anything else you want? I can get it for you. Lonely and invincible. So confident, dare to reveal your real name? Bai Hu, I won't reveal my real name, but I can reveal a little bit. My profession is called grave robber. Chapter 64. Spending money like water. Grave robber. Lu Zhan's expression shifted. He'd truly never heard of that profession in his previous life. But that was normal. Given his past status, there were countless things he didn't know. Still, that there was a profession called grave robber was quite unexpected. No wonder he called himself Bai Hu, meaning 8-1 Hu, possibly a reference to tools used in grave robbing. If that were the case, maybe the guy could actually find some of the treasures he needed. So, he replied directly, Lonely and invincible. Do you have celestial light stones or mithril? Bai Hu, I have mithril, same price as celestial iron. As for celestial light stones, I can look for them. How about it? Lonely and invincible. 200 grams of celestial light stones and 500 grams of mithril, all for a flat price of 10,000 gold coins. Bai Hu, brother, that's a bit dark. How about 40,000? Lonely and invincible. Goodbye. Delete friend. Blacklist. Bai Hu, no. Wait a minute. Big brother. Deal. Huluer quickly replied. He'd already researched the market. While these items were very rare, people didn't have much gold right now, so prices couldn't be too high. Like mithril, 5 gold coins a gram. 500 grams would only be 2,500. This Lonely and Invincible was offering a very high price. Most importantly, he needed to hold onto these high-quality, wealthy customers for future business. The next moment, he saw the other party's reply. Contact me when you find celestial light stones. Heh, definitely a show-off. Lu Zhan directly closed the chat window. If the guy really had the ability, they could definitely cooperate more in the future. Putting that aside, Lu Zhan typed in enhancement stone in the search bar, snapping up anything that wasn't too ridiculously priced. 36 enhancement stones in hand, another 10,000 plus gold coins gone. More than 50,000 gold coins were almost 30,000 fewer. He was spending money like water. Ding, enhance undead ring. Requires 3 enhancement stones. 1,000 gold coins, enhance? Enhance. 10 minutes later, all the enhancement stones were used up, and his gold coins were down below 10,000. Lu Zhan sighed. There was never enough money. Fortunately, after spending so much, there were some results. Undead ring plus 20, mana plus 1,000, spirit plus 20, skill cooldown minus 2 seconds. All undead under command gain 8% to all stats. Undead imprisonment. Can pull the target into the undead space, quantity 1, duration 1 minute, cooldown 24 hours. The 8% stat boost was already quite noticeable, worth the investment. What surprised him most was enhancing a skill. Undead imprisonment. Judging from the literal meaning, it was like dragging the enemy into his territory, locking them in to get beaten up. The skill seemed restrictive and kind of useless. For the weak, it was unnecessary. For the strong, it was like opening the door and letting the enemy into his house. The only usage Zhan could think of was releasing all his undead, then trapping the target in the undead space for 1 minute. Stalling, just to stall? Zhan chuckled. The skill seemed useless now, but this was just the beginning. As enhancement progressed, it would definitely get stronger. He even started fantasizing about all the possible future effects, like the undead space lowering enemy stats or increasing the duration. 1 minute wasn't much, but an hour would allow him to do a lot more. Lu Ji, are you still there? While Zhan was still fantasizing, there was a knock on the door. It was Zhang Tianfu. Come in. A moment later, Zhang Tianfu let a woman in. Lu Ji, this is the chef, but she's only level 1. Should I take her to level up first? It's fine. Zhan waved his hand, took out the ape meat, and said directly, help me make a dish. Oh, okay, big brother. The woman was sensible. She even brought her own plate, taking the meat and placing it on the plate. The chef's initial skill was basic cooking. She tried it several times when she first changed professions, dreaming of becoming a master chef. But then the apes had captured her. The woman waved her hands, and the raw meat slowly began to emit a fragrance. In less than 10 seconds, a delicious dish was complete. Basic ape meat. First consumption randomly increases physique by 1 to 5 points. The woman was surprised. Obviously, it was her first time making food with monster meat. She didn't expect this. Not bad. With the materials for Blood's Elegy taken care of, and the enhancements to the undead ring, Zhan was in a good mood. He said generously, what do you want? Can I follow you? Hope shone in Zhao Ling's eyes. No, choose something else. Zhan refused decisively. Having a chef around to satisfy his appetite sounded nice. But Zhan was far from a point where he could indulge. He wouldn't take on a burden with no combat ability. Then can you stay here and protect us? We can be your slaves, do anything. Zhao Ling said. Stay here, become a local emperor, and even expand from this base, eventually forming a large empire like the 8 emperors, becoming the 9th emperor? It sounded nice. But unfortunately, Zhan's ambition wasn't there. Maybe someday in the future, when he was strong enough and tired of wandering alone, he would consider it, but not now. I'm giving you one last chance. If it's still unrealistic, the reward is void. Zhan said calmly. This wasn't a negotiation. To be blunt, it was just a handout. Disappointment flashed in Zhao Ling's eyes, and she said somewhat awkwardly, I have a husband and a son. If possible, can you take them to level up, just to level 6? This woman. She was interesting. Zhan sneered inwardly. She was playing mind games with him. But it didn't matter. In the apocalypse, how could you survive without a little scheming? Okay. Zhan nodded. All right, you can go. I'll have someone find you. His original plan was to stay here for a few days. As someone bad at directions, wandering the wilderness to find monsters wasn't smart. That's why he asked Wang Yi earlier. Where there were people, there were monsters. It couldn't hurt to look at these towns. He'd clear out the villages and towns nearby first to see if he could complete the promotion quest. Then he'd set out to find the Crimson Eye and create Blood's Elegy. By then, his strength would reach an incredibly terrifying state. He could go anywhere. In that case, taking 2 people to level up was just a side task, a little troublesome. But since he was in a good mood, Zhan didn't mind being a good guy for once. Chapter 65. Sigh of Death. The next day, around noon, Zhan paced back and forth in the room, his face tense. He looked just like a husband waiting for his wife to give birth. The actual situation was similar. Number 1 wasn't his son, but he was like a son. Inside the undead space, Number 1 was still motionless. There was 1 minute left until the evolution was complete. Zhan couldn't help but be nervous. He'd stayed in the town for the past 24 hours. He couldn't help it. Without Number 1, his strongest fighter, he felt uneasy wandering around. It wasn't fear, but caution. 10, 9, 8. Zhan counted silently in his mind. When he got to 1, he heard the system notification. Ding! Your undead has completed its evolution. Finally, relief washed over Zhan's face. Then he summoned Number 1, eager to see the results. The next moment, A black armored warrior appeared before him. At least 1.7 meters tall, nearly as tall as Lu Zhan. The black violent set made him look even more murderous and domineering, like a cold-blooded king of assassins. Looking at him, no one would guess that he was a goblin inside. Damn, even more handsome than me, Lu Zhan said enviously, then looked at number 1 stats. Undead Goblin. Trait: Hero rank Undead. Strength: 178. Physique: 165. Agility: 199. Talent: Fights bravely. Strength, physique, and agility will steadily increase as the battle progresses. Note: the talent carries a negative effect. The longer the battle, the more severe the negative effect. Those with low spirit should use with caution. Skills: Death Fear LV2. Passive skill: the death aura emitted causes fear in enemies, reducing their stats by 15%. Berserk: doubles all stats, but loses all reason. Cannot tell friend from foe. Lasts 1 minute. After the skill ends, enters a weakened state. All stats reduced by 70%. Lasts 5 minutes. Skill cooldown 30 minutes. Sigh of Death. Emits a sigh of death, putting enemies in a state of fear. Lu Zhan could only describe these stats in 2 words. Invincible. Lu Zhan hugged number 1, wanting to give him a big kiss. But then he thought of the ugly face under the armor and changed his mind. Then, Lu Zhan roared in high spirits at the top of his lungs toward the door. Zhang Tianfu set out. After holding back for so long, he could finally go out and slaughter. Liang Town, a very famous town in Haiyang province, and also a national-level ancient tourist town. All the buildings are antique, and this was the first stop for Lu Zhan and his group. Even if there were monsters in those small villages, they'd probably be low-level, and Lu Zhan was no longer interested in those. So, he had Wang Yi bring him to the largest town nearby, 1,000 meters from Liang Town. Lu Zhan and number 1 sat on Old Black's back, with 4 people following. Zhang Tianfu as the mascot, Wang Yi as the guide, and Zhao Ling's husband and son, Wang Ming, Wang Yang. These 2 were truly father and son. Their professions were the same, hunter. The profession was powerful, with high damage, camouflage skills, trap laying, and high survival ability. And they could tame and control monsters, which was quite an OP profession. Of course, hunters could only control 3 monsters at most, far fewer than an undead mage. But the monsters they controlled could use their original abilities, which was quite a cheat. If this father and son could develop well in the early stages of the apocalypse, they might have become powerful people. Unfortunately, they were caught by apes and locked up until now, never given a chance to show their talents. Lu Ji, what's the tactic? Zhang Tianfu asked. There were no signs of humans in the town ahead. It was probably occupied by monsters. Tactic? Lu Zhan sneered. Are you asking me about tactics? Looking down on my number 1? Do we need tactics with number 1? After saying that, he summoned an undead ape. Let it charge into the town. Lu Zhan's tone was a little arrogant, but it was just talking tough. He still needed to be cautious. While it was unlikely there were top-level monsters like dragon or phoenix in this town, what if there were? To be safe, he had to find out what kind of monsters were inside first. A moment later, they saw a fiery red tiger-like monster charge out, fighting the undead ape. Its body seemed to be burning with flames, and it could even spit out fireballs, burning the undead ape black. Wang Yi and the others' faces turned pale, as if they saw themselves burned alive, and they began to imagine the pain. They couldn't imagine how to fight against such a terrifying monster. Flame tiger? Lu Zhan raised an eyebrow. Monsters with special attributes were often more powerful than ordinary ones. The flame tiger wasn't as strong as the violent ape physically, but in a real fight, the flame tiger was likely to win. But Lu Zhan's undead apes had been enhanced several times, and their stats were much better than ordinary apes. While it looked miserable being burned, it wasn't taking much damage and was forcing the flame tiger to run around, roaring and calling for partners. Soon, 3 more flame tigers charged out of the town. Damn, daring to bully my little brother with numbers, not acting with tigerly virtue. Old Black, go get them. Lu Zhan slapped the dog's butt and began yelling. Woof, get your dirty hands off. Old Black barked, then felt number 1's axe on its body and quickly begged for forgiveness. Woof, woof, boss. I was wrong, touch, touch. You can touch my butt as much as you want. Stop talking nonsense and go, Zhan urged. His little brother was about to get killed. Arriving on the scene, Zhan moved his mind. Number one's figure disappeared from the dog's back. A black shadow flashed through the air like lightning, and with a few shwa 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 sounds, flame tigers fell to the ground, motionless. Instant kill. Woof, woof, boss is mighty, boss is domineering, boss is mighty and domineering. Old Black raised his head, showing off. As number one's little brother, his boss being powerful made him very proud. Wang Yi and the others stared wide-eyed. Their minds seemingly crashed. They hadn't seen Zhan slaughter the apes before. Now seeing it, they truly understood what terror was, what a strong person was. Let's go into town, Zhan said. Number one took the lead, stepping into Liang town. However, as soon as they stepped inside, they saw flame tigers jumping out from all around. In just a moment, there were already hundreds of flame tigers gathered in front of them, including more than a dozen elite flame explosion tigers. Finally, a roar that echoed through the town rang out. A fiery red figure descended from the sky with a bang, standing in front of the tigers. Chapter 66. 1 minute. Clear the area. Unlike the flame tigers that walked on all fours, this guy actually stood upright like a human, with a tiger's head and body and burning flames on his 2 fists, especially the muscles in the limbs and chest, making Zhan's mouth water. This would definitely be delicious. The person who had come was the boss here. A hero-level monster, Flame Demon Tiger. The Flame Demon Tiger held a fiery red giant axe in its hand, making it look extremely domineering. Number 1. It's time to update your weapon. Zhan looked at the weapon, feeling tempted. Number 1's axe had been used for so long, it was time to change it. Lu Ji, what do we do now? Wang Yi and the others were trembling. Although the black-armored warrior had shown great strength, they were now being stared at by hundreds of tigers, and there was also a tiger man that looked terrifying. How could they not be afraid? Roar! Just then, the flame demon tiger roared, and a terrifying wave of air rushed towards Zhan and the others. Zhan could even feel the rolling heat, wanting to burn everything. Damn, what a big breath. Zhan shook his head. He felt like his hair was about to catch fire. The next moment, hundreds of demon tigers opened their mouths at the same time, spitting out fireballs. Instantly, fireballs rained down on Zhan and the others, like a rain of fire. The flame demon tiger had much higher intelligence than the violent gorilla. It even understood teamwork. The faces of Wang Yi and the others were completely bloodless. There were too many fireballs to dodge. Even if Zhan could withstand them, they would definitely die. Any one of them could burn them to death. Come out, my undead. Zhan had no intention of dodging. He said in a low voice. The rain of fireballs was just drizzle to him. In an instant, except for the undead griffins, all the other undead apes appeared in front of Zhan. The undead griffins were rare, and Zhan didn't want to waste them. Behind them, without being told, Zhang Tianfu activated powerful assistance, instantly increasing his physique by more than 30 points. Boom, boom, boom. 22 undead apes formed a monkey wall, using their bodies to block all the fireballs. Zhan was as steady as Mount Tai behind them. The elite's physique of his undead apes were all over 100, and the ordinary ones were also over 90. These small fireballs? They wouldn't kill even one. But Zhan was disappointed. After a round of hundreds of fireballs, one ordinary undead ape still died. There was nothing to be done. This guy was too unlucky. Its head was hit directly by more than 20 fireballs. Now, it's my turn. Zhan moved his mind. Number 1 had already jumped high, then charged straight down, like a rocket, directly into the flame tiger horde. Slaughter began instantly. Number 1 reaped the lives of these demon tigers at a rate of almost 1 per second. Roar! Seeing his little brothers falling one after another, where could the flame demon tiger bear it? With a roar, it rushed over to stop it. But the next moment, it felt a darkness before its eyes, and then appeared in a desolate land full of death. Oh? The flame demon tiger's face was confused. What happened? All right, let's start clearing the area. Outside, Zhan waved his hand, and all the undead scattered. In the sky, the 4 undead griffins were also released to launch an air raid. He didn't move himself. There was no need to do it himself for such a small scene. He'd enjoyed himself enough when he was killing the apes. As for Old Black, it didn't get experience killing things, so there was no way he'd let it use lightning. The flame demon tiger had been locked in the undead space with his undead imprisonment. 1 minute wasn't too long or too short. It was enough time for number 1 to kill most of the monsters here, plus the other 20 or so undead. Zhan estimated that by the time the flame demon tiger came out, it would be almost commanding a bear squad. "What are you 3 panicking about?" Zhang Tianfu patted Wang Yi on the shoulder and said, Fuji is Lu. Lu Ji always this fierce." Wang Yi wiped the sweat from his head. This was like a roller coaster, 1 moment shocked, 1 moment scared to death, 1 moment stunned. It was too exciting. "This is a small scene," Zhang Tianfu said calmly, as if there were no waves. In fact, he was also shocked. Damn, Lu Ji had new tricks every time he took action. It was too terrifying, especially number 1. Not only did he grow taller and more handsome, but his strength had also increased too much. Just then, a huge figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed directly in front of Wang Yi and the others, scaring them. "You too, kill it." Lu Zhan glanced at Wang Ming and Wang Yang, father and son, and said, "This was an elite monster, Flame Explosion Tiger, which had its limbs cut off by number 1, leaving it with only 1 breath left and throwing it over." This was naturally Lu Zhan's order. One was to fulfill his promise to the woman Zhaoling, and the other was that the father and son were at low levels, so killing elite monsters would have a higher drop rate. 2 birds with 1 stone. Thank you, Lu Ji." As the father, Wang Ming was more mature and almost kneeled down and kowtowed. Before they came out, Zhaoling had told them a lot, telling them to not care about anything and do whatever Lu Ji said. "Ayang, quick, you kill it." Seeing such a terrifying tiger, although it was motionless, Wang Yang was still a little nervous and dared not approach, so he could only take out a bow and arrow to shoot. He shot more than a dozen arrows. Finally, he ended the Flame Explosion Tiger's life. "Dad, I leveled up to level 3. Wang Yang's face was full of joy, and then seeing the things that appeared on the Flame Explosion Tiger, he was even more surprised. Dad, look, it seems like something dropped." After saying that, he reached out to take it. Wang Ming quickly grabbed him and shouted, "Don't take it." Lu Zhan jumped down from the dog's back. At that moment, Wang Ming really saved his son's life. He only said he would take them to level up. If they dared to take what was dropped, they would be courting death. There were 3 spheres on the Flame Explosion Tiger. Lu Zhan didn't even look at them and put them all into his storage ring first. Then, another Flame Explosion Tiger was thrown over. This time, it was naturally Wang Ming who took action, and 3 things dropped. Lu Zhan put away the things and estimated the time, and there should be about 10 seconds left. His undead's individual combat power was higher than these demon tigers, and they were not afraid of pain or fire, and were fearless in death. This scene was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. The original tigers had become sheep. Around, the corpses of demon tigers were piled up everywhere, especially number 1. It had killed at least 7 or 8 of them, if not 100. When the time was up, a figure appeared out of thin air in front of Lu Zhan. It was the confused flame demon tiger. Damn! Lu Zhan was startled. It was the first time he used undead imprisonment, and he didn't expect that when the time ended, the target would appear directly in front of him. Fortunately, the flame demon tiger was even more confused than him. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Zhan kicked it flying. Chapter 67. The Flame Demon Axe. The flame demon tiger, flying through the air, finally regained its senses. Seeing the corpses of its minions scattered all around, it instantly flew into a rage. With a tiger's roar, flames erupted from its fists, stopping its backward flight in midair. But before the flame demon tiger could unleash its power, a black figure was already in front of it. The next moment, an extremely strange sound suddenly rang out, like a sigh from the god of death. An expression of extreme fear instantly appeared on the flame demon tiger's face. Its body crashed to the ground. Not far away, Lu Zhan narrowed his eyes. He had also heard the sigh just now. Was this the sigh of death? Being able to instantly put a hero-ranked monster into a state of fear was like an extremely powerful control skill. Zhan estimated that the skill was an attack targeting the spirit. And unlike the violent gorilla's starlight roar, this sigh of death didn't seem to be a real sound. Covering your ears wouldn't defend against it. This was a complete killer weapon. Suddenly, he smelled a slightly strange odor. Looking back, he saw Wang Yi and the others all slumped on the ground, trembling. Wang Yang's pants were wet, so it was clear what had happened. Clearly, they had also been affected by the sigh of death. Fortunately, after becoming professionals, their spirit had increased somewhat, and they were also far away. Otherwise, they might have been scared to death. But the sigh of death had no effect on Zhan. Whether it was because number 1 was his summon, or because he was an undead mage. In front, the flamed demon tiger fell to the ground, its eyes still filled with fear, until number 1's axe heavily struck its body. Roar! The intense pain finally woke the flamed demon tiger, struggling to get up. But it was already too late. The flamed demon tiger's stats had already been reduced by 15% under the effect of death fear. Plus, number 1's attack was too fast. So fast that it couldn't even see it clearly, let alone resist. In just 5 seconds, the hero-ranked monster, the flamed demon tiger, was killed, with no power to resist. Ding! Congratulations on leveling up. Hearing the system's level up notification, even Zhan was shocked. Too strong. It could even instantly kill a hero-ranked monster. Especially the combination of moves. It was perfect, giving the enemy no way to fight back. I'm really going to be invincible. Zhan took a deep breath and said somewhat lonely. Sure enough, invincibility was lonely. In less than 2 minutes, he wiped out all the monsters in the town. Who else was there? Woof, woof. It's all thanks to my big brother. What are you bragging about? Old Black barked directly. Don't you want to eat tiger meat anymore? Zhan glanced at it and said calmly. Woof, woof. The boss's boss is mighty and domineering. The boss's boss is invincible. Old Black immediately changed its face. Choose 10 to eat. You can't eat the elites. Zhan said, too lazy to pay attention to it, and walked directly towards the flamed demon tiger's corpse. Damn it! But as soon as he approached, Zhan couldn't help but curse. Such a hero-ranked monster only dropped one thing. Too stingy. Was it because number 1 killed it too fast? But fortunately, looking at the appearance of the sphere, it should be the axe. Zhan directly picked it up and crushed it open. Sure enough, a domineering fiery red axe appeared in his hand. Flame Demon Axe. Quality, blue. Equipment requirements, strength 80, physique 100, strength plus 50. Fire attribute attack, with a burning effect. Each attack has a 30% chance to trigger an explosion effect. The explosion damage is determined by strength. Demonic Chi. Each kill will accumulate demonic Chi. When a certain amount is reached, it will level up. Good. The equipment requirements were uncertain. Physique 100, few people could reach that at this stage. Thinking about it, if people with a low physique tried to wield it, they'd burn themselves to death before they could even cut anyone. Of course, this little bit of physique was nothing for number 1. The attributes were also extremely excellent. The 50 strength alone was already quite terrifying. The fire attribute was easy to understand. It was strong, and that attribute effect would continue to increase with the weapon's enhancement. The explosion effect was the same. The higher the strength, the higher the damage. There was also the demonic Chi. It was unclear what it did. What was demonic Chi? How much was a certain amount? How would it level up? Nothing was explained. Zhan wasn't doubting its power. After all, with demon in the name, it couldn't be weak. He was worried about the demon part. That wasn't a good word. He was afraid it would cause something bad. But quickly, Zhan threw those worries to the back of his mind. No matter what kind of damn demon it was, in the face of death, it had to kneel. What was he worrying about? To summarize, in addition to strength, the other 3 attributes of the axe could continue to increase with strength. It was a true growth-type weapon. The actual value was no weaker than a purple equipment. Zhan wanted to use such a good thing himself. Was giving it to an undead too wasteful? Thinking of this, Zhan waved it around, but still threw it to number 1. Number 1, your new toy. It didn't feel right in his hand. Wielding a sword was more handsome and fit his good-looking appearance. Number 1 raised his hand and steadily caught it. As for the previous axe, Zhan threw it aside. That thing was already bound. Unless Number 1 was killed to drop it, or Zhan was killed, no one else could use it. Then, Zhan took out all the things dropped by the elite monsters. There were 12 enhancement stones. There were also some fire attribute materials and a tiger hide ingredient. Besides these, there was something else that was an unexpected surprise. Fire enchantment stone can be enchanted on a weapon, giving the weapon fire attributes. Zhan had only heard of enchantment stones in his previous life. They were extremely rare, equal to a direct enhancement to the weapon. And the effect of this fire attribute was the same as that on the Flame Demon axe. It could continue to increase as the equipment was enhanced. With the spoils dealt with, Zhan began his assembly line project, Reincarnate, Sacrifice. In the battle just now, 4 of his apes had died. Plus, he had leveled up, so he needed to replenish 6 Demon Tiger undead. The first spot was naturally for the hero-ranked Flame Demon Tiger. Then add 5 elite Flame Explosion Tigers. As for the rest, they would all be used for sacrifice. With this wave, he would sacrifice all the undead to make them elite. To the side, Zhang Tianfu was very aware, found a corner and sat on the ground, closing his eyes to rest. He knew that when Lu Ji got busy, it would take a while. Wang Yi and the others looked at each other, not daring to sit or leave. They could only stand there without moving. The big brother hadn't spoken, and they didn't know what to do. Chapter 68. Can Kill? While Zhan was busy with his assembly line work, outside Small King Town, a 5-person team appeared 1,000 meters away. The 5 people looked relaxed, with no sense of crisis from the apocalypse. Clearly, they were very confident in their strength. Boss, it should be up ahead. According to what that person said, there should be ape-like monsters inside. The boss is a very large gorilla, and if nothing goes wrong, it's hero-ranked. The one speaking was Heavenly God number 24, who had contacted Wang Yi, named Liang Hao. He was wearing black armor, with a helmet on his head, several rings on his hands, and even a necklace around his neck. He even had a string of earrings on his ears, holding a knife in his left hand and a shield in his right. Clearly, these were all equipment. Not to mention the attributes, he was armed from head to toe. His profession was very special, called Amplifying Warrior. Everything else was the same as an ordinary warrior, except for one thing. Every piece of equipment he wore would additionally increase strength, physique, and agility. Even white equipment could have a huge effect on him. Right now, he was wearing a full 13 pieces of equipment. Although most of them were white, they had directly broken 100 in all 3 stats. With all 3 stats over 100, being able to fight and withstand damage, he was definitely a top powerhouse, and it was impossible for him not to be confident. But such a powerhouse was just a minion. The boss of the team was someone else. Their team of 5 had hidden professions, and their strength was terrifying. What was surprising was that the team's boss was named Su Bai, who was a very beautiful man, wearing a white robe, holding a thick book, and looked like he had no fighting power. Su Bai nodded slightly, his face unchanged, and said, "Let's go. The monsters in this small town won't be too strong. With our strength, sweeping through won't be a problem." The other 4 people in the team also looked relaxed, smiling and saying, "Haha, the boss is right. With the boss as a mobile spring, what are we afraid of? The more monsters in this town, the better. They're all experience. Hee, it would be more reliable if we had a few more elite monsters. That way, we'll drop more equipment." "Damn, you're already covered in equipment, and you want more? If you get more, I won't give it to you." The people were talking and laughing, without a trace of tension. But as soon as they approached the town, the faces of the 5 people changed. Wasn't this town said to be occupied by monsters? Why were there people patrolling outside? "Who are you?" The patrollers also saw the 5-person team, raised the guns in their hands, and asked warily, "We are the Heavenly God team. Is this Small King Town?" Someone posted a cry for help on the forum, and I contacted them. Liang Hao frowned and said, "Damn, were they being played?" They had spent a lot of time finding this place to kill monsters to level up and get equipment. Rescuing people was just incidental. If there were no monsters here, they would have made a wasted trip. Thinking of this, a trace of hostility couldn't help but rise in his heart, and even gave birth to the urge to massacre the town. If there were no monsters to kill, killing some people to have fun wasn't a bad thing. Are you the heavenly god team? The patroller looked surprised and said, but you're late. A powerhouse came here yesterday and killed all the monsters. One person. At that moment, Subai stepped forward and asked with some doubt. One person killed all the monsters? How strong would they have to be? It's one person, or no, it's 3 people and a dog. The patroller saw Subai and inexplicably felt a sense of trust and respect, and told everything he knew. After listening, a gleam of light flashed in Subai's eyes. No matter what, that was definitely a strong person, and it would be good to bring them under his command. Evening. Old Black was running wildly on the road. Eating more than a dozen tigers today made it extremely happy. It had been driven out of the city by a tiger. Rounding it off, this was equal to revenge. Can you be more stable? You're a powerful dog. Zhan slapped the dog's head. He didn't care. He felt sorry for the 4 people in the back. Old Black said that only the boss could sit on its back, and it would barely add the boss's boss. The others would rather die than listen. Fortunately, they found a car near Liang town. Although it couldn't be driven, it had wheels that could be sat on. Zhan directly took a rope and had Old Black pull the car. Zhang Tianfu and the 3 sat in the car. Old Black running like this made the 4 people in the car bounce around badly. Even the physiques of the professionals couldn't take it. Woof, woof, I'm already showing mercy by pulling them. Old Black roared, not caring. Zhan was also speechless. Anyway, they were almost there. The shadow of Small King Town had already appeared in front. Small King Town, upstairs in a house. The 5 members of the heavenly gods stood at the window, looking at the dust flying in the distance. Boss, that should be them, right? That dog looks pretty strong. What's the origin? Is it a monster? Or a mutant beast? Liang Hao said casually. In his opinion, the other party couldn't be stronger than their 5 people, so there was no need to pay too much attention to them. Mutant beast. Subai said without thinking. His profession is probably something like beast control, which is not bad. Be polite later. If they can join us, it would naturally be the best. That way, our strength will increase. Don't worry, boss, Liang Hao said. Seeing the big black dog getting closer and closer, Zhang Hong suddenly shook, and he received a system notification. Then, his breathing became more and more rapid, and he trembled with excitement. Boss, kill him. Subai frowned and gave him a displeased look. Zhang Hong shook again, and a sense of obedience rose in his heart. However, the temptation from before was too great, and he couldn't help but disobey the boss. He quickly said, Boss, I received a system notification. This guy has an elf's curse. If I kill him, I can get all of him. Gold coins, experience, skill points, equipment, items, everything. As he spoke, his elven ears trembled with excitement. It seems that we need to strengthen it again, Subai thought to himself, but was quickly attracted by Zhang Hong's words. Kill him and get everything. This was indeed an extremely cost-effective deal. That guy's level was at least above 10, and the experience alone was massive, although he wouldn't get it. But Zhang Hong getting it was equivalent to him getting it. After all, as long as he lived for a day, Zhang Hong would always be his little brother. Not to mention the skill points and equipment. This deal was too cost-effective. Subai made a decision in an instant. Can kill. In this world, except for gold coins, everything else in killing people to steal goods was the same as killing monsters. You had to rely on luck to get them. The drop rate was ridiculously low. If killing people could get everything from the other party, humanity would fall into a vicious cycle of mutual killing. Chapter 69. Here comes the chicken soup. As they approached the town, Zhan frowned. He didn't know why, but everything here was the same as when he left in the morning. But it made him very uncomfortable. Behind him, the 4 people who got out of the car were vomiting uncontrollably on the side of the road. Lu Ji, you're back. The patrollers greeted them with a look of awe. The people in the town knew that Zhan didn't like titles like hero or great Shakura, and preferred people to call him Lu Ji. Although he looked like a college student after washing up, people called him that because he was strong. Whoever was strong was the elder brother. Did anything happen today? Zhan nodded and asked. No, Lu Ji, nothing happened, the patroller said. Lu Zhan didn't say anything, patted the dog's head, and entered the town. At this moment, he had a full 27 elite undead in his undead space, plus the flame demon tiger that had been reincarnated. Strengthening it was too difficult. Even the 4 griffins had been sacrificed and upgraded to elite. Not to mention number 1, a super powerful combat force. With this kind of strength, was it still necessary to be afraid of everything? No matter what kind of demon or ghost they were, he would kill them all if they dared to cause trouble in front of him. Entering the town, the uncomfortable feeling intensified. Those who were busy with this and that all turned around, looked at Lu Zhan, and surrounded him with awe on their faces. Lu Ji, you're back? Lu Ji, I didn't have time to thank you for saving us yesterday. Lu Ji, why don't you come to my house tonight? I'll have my daughter serve you. Amidst the noisy crowd, Zhao Ling walked over, holding a bowl of soup, emitting a strong aroma. Lu Ji, this is chicken soup I made for you, fresh. You're tired all day. Have a sip. Lu Zhan couldn't help but swallow. This chicken soup smelled so good. It smelled so good that he couldn't help but want to take a sip, giving him the feeling that he would have no regrets if he died. As if possessed, Lu Zhan took the bowl and was about to drink when he suddenly stopped, turned around, and handed it to Wang Yang. You guys worked hard too. Your mom made the soup. You drink it first. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lu Ji. Wang Yang swallowed saliva and eagerly took it, wanting to drink it in one gulp. But the next moment, Zhao Ling stepped forward, slammed the bowl on the ground, and slapped her son in the face. Wang Yang, what are you doing? This is for Lu Ji. Why are you drinking it? After saying that, she wanted to pull her son away to teach him a lesson. But Lu Zhan grabbed her hand and said coldly, let him drink it on the ground, lick it clean for me. He knew something was wrong with it as soon as he smelled the soup. With his determination, what kind of soup could make him have that kind of outrageous feeling? In his previous life, he had heard that special materials, after being processed by a chef, would produce a special power. As for what power that would be depended entirely on the material, it could make people extremely happy, or it could be highly poisonous. In the shadows not far away, a look of surprise flashed in Su Bai's eyes, and he said indifferently, this guy's spirit must be high. He can actually resist the aroma of the soul-snatching wood. This soul-snatching wood was a special material they had obtained after killing an elite soul-snatching demon a while ago. At this stage, whether they were warriors, mages, priests, or tanks, or even most hidden professions, they wouldn't mainly focus on spirit. Some professions didn't even increase it at all, because the spirit attribute had almost no improvement to combat power. Most professional spirit was quite low, which was why he was so surprised. Boss, if you can't do it secretly, then let's come out in the open, Liang Hao said directly. He was eyeing the black armor the black-armored man was wearing. It was much cooler than what he was wearing. And that fiery red axe didn't look like an ordinary item. Zhang Hong, on the other hand, couldn't wait any longer. He didn't want anything else. Just thinking about the huge amount of experience points made him tremble. That might even allow him to directly rise to the top of the level rankings, surpassing Huang Shengren. Don't be impatient, this guy is a bit interesting. I'm afraid he's not easy to deal with. Let's wear him down first. A strange light flashed in Su Bai's eyes. He wanted to see how this guy would handle the following situation. In front, Zhao Ling froze in place, her face extremely ugly. Wang Yang, on the other hand, directly fell to the ground, eagerly wanting to lick up the soup on the ground. But Zhao Ling kicked her son away, her face filled with anger, and pointed at Lu Zhan, cursing. Heretic! You heretic! I've seen it long ago. You're actually colluding with demons. As soon as she said this, the faces of the people around them suddenly changed. They sprayed at Lu Zhan with righteous indignation. That's right. A traitor to humanity. This kind of person should be purified. God, please send down divine punishment and purify this sinful person. My Lord is merciful. There's still too much evil in this world that needs my Lord's glory. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kneel. You heretic. Kneel down to God. Damn you. You ungrateful bastards. If it weren't for Lu Ji, you would have been eaten by those apes. Behind them, Zhang Tianfu couldn't stand it anymore, stood up, and spoke for Lu Ji. He really couldn't figure it out. How could these people change their faces so quickly? They clearly had a look of awe just a moment ago. They were like they had been possessed. Lu Zhan smiled coldly, patted Zhang Tianfu on the shoulder, and gestured for him to be quiet. These people were really not right. Like they had been controlled. No. More accurately, they had been brainwashed. They probably genuinely thought that Lu Zhan was an evil heretic. Spirit-type skills? It looked like there was an expert behind this. While Lu Zhan was thinking, he heard someone suddenly shout, "Die!" At the same time, he raised the bow and arrow in his hand and shot an arrow directly at Lu Zhan. As soon as this arrow was fired, the people instantly became fanatical. All took up their weapons and rushed up, wanting to kill Lu Zhan with their own hands. Even those in life professions rushed up. Lu Zhan smiled coldly. If it was just cursing, that would have been fine. After all, these people were controlled and it could be excused. But since they dared to take action, then he couldn't be blamed. Lu Zhan patted the dog's head. Give them some electricity. Let their minds clear up. Old Black instantly understood and smiled. It was best at electrifying people. The next moment, a bolt of lightning shot out, constantly passing through the rushing crowd. In an instant, the crowd fell down like dominoes. In just 3 seconds, no one could stand except Lu Zhan and the others. With Old Black's current strength, these people were no different from ants in its eyes. It didn't even need to exert much strength. It probably only released 1% of its power. After all, Lu Zhan said to let them clear their heads, not to electrify them all into coke. Old Black was still very obedient on this point. But even so, many people died. After all, Old Black couldn't control them one by one. It was just bad luck if they died. Those who didn't die were electrocuted. Chapter 70. Kneel down and sing conquer. Ruthless enough. A look of seriousness flashed in Su Bai's eyes. This kind of person was the most terrifying. They were strong and not bound by morality. Ruthless and strong. But at that moment, all of a sudden, a burst of terrifying energy erupted beside him. He saw Zhang Hong raising his staff towards the sky, as if summoning lightning. 3 seconds later, a thundercloud formed over the dog's head in front of him. Skill, Thunderfall. The characteristics of the hidden elven profession were very simple and brutal. They had a huge amplification effect on any skill. If an ordinary thunder mage were to cast this skill, they would probably just send down a lightning bolt on the other person's head. But in the hands of Zhang Hong, an elven thunder mage, he could directly summon thunderclouds. On Lu Zhan's side, when the thundercloud appeared, it really scared him. He even suspected that he was too arrogant recently, and this was heavenly punishment coming down. Just as he was about to do something, a thick thunderbolt had already struck down, and it was about to hit the crowd. Woof woof. Old Black directly raised its head and opened its giant mouth. It actually swallowed the lightning bolt. Wielding thunder and lightning in front of this thunder and lightning dog king was like using a Guan Gong broadsword in front of Guan Yu. Woof, woof, disgusting, disgusting, too disgusting. After swallowing the lightning bolt, Old Black barked unhappily. In the thundercloud, a second lightning bolt had already struck again. Looking at the scene in front of him, Su Bai's face suddenly became extremely stern, and he glanced at Zhang Hong. At the same time, a trace of dissatisfaction flashed in his heart. Zhang Hong had actually acted without his consent. It seemed that he wasn't controlled enough. The temptation of the reward was too great, so great that it exceeded his control. I'm sorry, boss, I was wrong. Zhang Hong knelt down directly after being glared at by Su Bai, his face filled with remorse. Get up, there won't be a next time, Su Bai said indifferently. Since they had already taken action, they couldn't hold back anymore. Su Bai was still quite confident in the strength of his team. That dog looked quite strong, being able to directly devour Zhang Hong's thunderfall, but he had his own way to deal with the dog. It was even possible to take it down directly without any effort. Let's go, let's meet him. His profession should be a beast master, and that dog is his pet. If we fight, I'll banish it directly. Then you guys kill him with all your strength. Pay attention to that black-armored warrior. Liang Hao, you entangle him. The others aren't worth mentioning. Understood? There was a trace of majesty in Su Bai's voice. After 5 seconds of striking 5 bolts of lightning, the thundercloud above Lu Zhan's head finally disappeared. And these 5 bolts of lightning had naturally been devoured by Old Black. Although he hadn't experienced it himself, Zhan could feel the power of the lightning. It was quite strong. It was close to 1/3 of Old Black's power. That bit of lightning wouldn't even break Zhan's defense. However, if he were to be struck and get covered in dust, it would damage his handsome image. So, Zhan patted Old Black's head and praised it. Good job. It seemed that the person in the dark couldn't help but want to come out and act himself. Zhan glanced around and couldn't find the other party's figure. A thief? Or an assassin? But what was going on with the thundercloud? And that bewitching method? It seemed that there were at least 3 people. While he was thinking, he saw 5 figures appear out of thin air in front. Group stealth? That was a bit interesting. The corners of Zhan's mouth turned up. Then, he saw one of the person's ears, standard elven ears. An elf. That was even more interesting. Hello, we are the Savior team from the Heavenly God Group. Are you interested in joining us? Subai put the book in his hands and said with a pious expression, Heavenly God? Zhan was stunned. He didn't expect the so-called Heavenly God to actually come. It looked like they were quite strong. The strength of these 5 people was good in his perception, especially that group stealth. He couldn't even detect them. Yes, under the guidance of God, our Heavenly God Group is committed to saving this chaotic apocalyptic world. Come on, join us. Let us work together to complete this great mission and let the glory of God shine on this world, Subai said with passion. Although the other party's spirit was not low, he still wanted to try. If he could brainwash him successfully, it would naturally be easier to kill him. Zhan frowned. The man's voice was magnetic and extremely thick, causing people to believe him involuntarily. This was likely a special ability targeting the spirit. Although Zhan's undead couldn't provide him with an amplification of spirit, he was adding all of his leveled-up attributes to spirit, plus the blessings of some equipment, making him definitely higher than most people. The magic of the other party's language was naturally much less. Most importantly, he smelled an uncomfortable odor, even disgust, on the other party. How many people are there in your Heavenly God Group? Zhan pretended to be tempted and asked. Such a powerful force, he had never heard of it in his previous life. That was impossible. Our Heavenly God Group is all over the world. Anyone who is determined to spread the glory of God is a partner of our Heavenly God Group. Subai stretched out his hands, making an embracing gesture, very pious. You can't save the world without a bit of strength. What's your strength? Zhan showed a pensive look. Damn, this guy talks too much. Subai cursed inwardly. His teammates had all been fooled by him with just 2 or 3 words. This was precisely his professional talent ability, called Holy Edict, which could be simply called bewitching. When he spoke using this ability, his voice would carry a special power, like planting seeds in the other party's heart. Like the people lying around, it was just a matter of a word. The person in front of him had a high spirit, and the resistance to the Holy Edict was naturally stronger. But as long as the other party was willing to chat, Subai wanted to keep chatting. This was like continuous output. As long as he kept talking, he could break through the other party's heart. So, Subai said again kindly, if I guessed correctly, you should also be a hidden profession, right? All 5 of us are hidden professions. What do you think of this strength? A look of shock appeared on Zhan's face. In fact, he was also quite surprised. Good. 5 hidden professions. There was really something. After the shock, a look of longing appeared on Zhan's face, and he said, That's right, my profession is a beastmaster, and it is indeed a hidden profession. Look, this is my pet, Thunderdog. Can I ask what your professions are? Subai's face became more confident. It looked like the other party was about to fall, so he would add more effort. This one is called Liang Hao, Amplifying Warrior. This one is Zhang Hong, Elven Thunder Mage. And this one, Zhang Chong, Guardian, and him, Guan Yin, Shadow Assassin. As for me, I exist to spread the glory of God. My profession is Holy Envoy. Damn, Holy Envoy. Zhan stood up directly on the dog's back, his face full of excitement, and laughed directly. You're a Holy Envoy? Ha ha ha. Does your profession have holy attributes? Ha ha ha. No wonder I hate you so much. So your profession is a Holy Envoy. These people should have been controlled by you, right? And you regarded me as some kind of heretic? You still want to control me? Damn, You're killing me with laughter. Ha ha ha, I was just thinking about where to find you. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to my door. Zhang Tianfu, you're really my lucky star. Listening to the other party's laughter, Su Bai's face changed from astonishment to humiliation to anger. It turned out that the other party was just playing him from the beginning. Talking so much to him was completely to get information out of him. Kill him, Su Bai said almost through gritted teeth. At the same time, he opened a page in the book in his hand. This wasn't an ordinary book, but his initial equipment, the Holy Book. The skills of the Holy Envoy didn't need to be searched for separately. They were all hidden in this Holy Book. They were constantly unlocked as the level increased, and each page was a skill. And this page was the skill frenzy. All 4 of his teammates emitted red light, and their expressions became fanatic and excited. This wasn't over yet. Su Bai opened another page. Skill, Banishment. Su Bai pointed at the big black dog. The next moment, Old Black disappeared directly and was banished to the void. Guardian Zhang Chung also let out a low roar, and a shield appeared on all 5 people. Skill, Shield of Guardianship. Shadow Assassin Guan Yin entered a stealth state, and Zhang Hong's staff was already raised. Liang Hao raised his knife and shield, walked to the front, and killing intent erupted. In an instant, the 5 people had stacked all the buffs and banished the other party's strongest combat force, Thunderdog. Looking at the stunned Lu Zhan, Su Bai said with dominance, "Kneel down, sing conquer." Chapter 71. My spirit beasts are a little excessive. Lu Zhan was genuinely stunned. In his previous life, due to his strength and status, he rarely came into contact with hidden classes. In this life, he'd only encountered 2 related to elves, and as for Bloodblade Old Ancestor, he hadn't even lifted a finger. Seeing the scene before him, he couldn't help but sigh. Truly deserving of being a hidden class, the variety was just insane. That idiot actually wanted him to kneel and sing conquer. He must have read too many novels, thinking he was the main character. However, Bei Lao Hei's disappearance was quite shocking, so he directly asked, "Where did you take my dog? Can he come back?" "If he can't come back, what am I supposed to ride? Ride you? But I want to kill you. This is difficult." Before the apocalypse, Su Bai was essentially a street thug who inexplicably transitioned into a holy saint. You could only say that even gods could be blind. However, after becoming a saint, Su Bai had unknowingly changed a lot and hadn't even uttered a curse word. But at this moment, Su Bai was completely triggered. Damn it, he asked you to kneel, and you want to ride him. Fucking kill him. As soon as the words left his mouth, Lu Zhan felt a tightening in his mind, a sense of danger approaching. But just as he reacted, he felt an extremely slight sting at his temple, like a mosquito bite. Shadow Assassin. Huh? Interesting. Most stealth skills would break the user's concealment upon attacking. But this Shadow Assassin could attack directly in stealth, truly worthy of being a hidden class. Very strong. But the attack was too weak. His physique had already surpassed 250 points. He could practically be called immortal at this stage. Are you trying to give me a tickle? Lu Zhan said coldly. The moment Guan Yin, still cloaked in invisibility, plunged the dagger, his face was filled with shock. How was this possible? He couldn't even pierce the skin. Logically, beast tamers were strong because of their spirit beasts. Their own bodies were weak, right? How could this be? An assassin unable to break his defenses? But Guan Yin reacted quickly. One strike failed. He immediately withdrew, looking for another opportunity. But the next second, a bizarre sound suddenly rang in his ears. In an instant, intense fear arose in Guan Yin's heart, as if facing death itself. I don't want to die. Guan Yin roared, unable to maintain his stealth, revealing himself. But just as he finished saying he didn't want to die, Number One's axe rose and fell, and his head hit the ground. Sorry, your wish cannot be granted. Lu Zhan sneered. Did he really think invisibility meant invincibility? Number One's lament of death was just too broken, a complete counter to stealth. This is impossible. Seeing this scene, Su Bai at the front completely lost his mind. The Shadow Assassin was supposed to be the hardest to kill among the 5 of them. Why? Why did he die so easily? He didn't even do anything. He'd heard that sigh as well. In the moment of terror, The holy book in his hand radiated a warm power, directly dispelling the fear. But that instant of terror had still almost broken him. "What class are you?" Subai stared intently at him and asked. "Didn't I tell you? Beast tamer." Zhan said with a smile. "It's just that my spirit beasts are a little excessive." As soon as the words left his mouth, Zhan waved his hand. In an instant, all 28 undead were summoned, surrounding Subai and the others layer upon layer. In the air, 4 elite-level griffin undead circled continuously. Actually, number 1 alone would have been enough to take care of these 4. But Zhan had been too suppressed in his previous life. In this life, he was going to make up for all the swagger he didn't get to show. This was the perfect opportunity to show off properly. "How is it? My spirit beast army? Are you satisfied?" Zhan said, looking at the 4 of them. The color had completely drained from Subai and the others' faces, their bodies trembling uncontrollably with fear. Fight? How could they possibly fight? Around them, the undead army stood motionless, watching them silently with those green, glowing eyes. The overwhelming pressure was almost suffocating. Subai didn't even notice when the holy book in his hand fell to the ground. He could feel that these weren't weaklings standing around. Each one was exceptionally powerful. The weakest was at least elite level. Maybe if there were fewer than 10, their team could take them down with cooperation. But looking around, there were nearly 30. And there was that most terrifying black-armored warrior. The scene of him instantly killing the shadow assassin was still fresh in his mind. Impossible. How could such a terrifying person exist? Just then, a huge figure appeared beside Zhan, accompanied by an incredibly angry roar. "Woof, woof, woof, woof. Damn it. Who locked me up? There was nothing there. Damn, damn, damn." When the 3 minutes were up, Bei Lao He reappeared in his original spot. This skill was similar to Zhan's undead imprisonment. Seeing the dog appear, Subai was even more desperate. Originally, he'd planned to take down a beast tamer without any spirit beasts in 3 minutes. More than enough time. But what was the result? With a thump, Subai actually fell to his knees, trembling as he said, Please forgive my ignorance and let me go." He didn't want to die. With such a powerful hidden class, he could become a superior being in the apocalypse, enjoying the admiration of the world. How could he just die like this? He now hated the elf thunder mage, Zhang Hong, with a passion. If it weren't for him, they wouldn't have provoked such a terrifying person. He didn't know that it wasn't Zhang Hong's fault, but his own class. Seeing that their boss had surrendered, the other 3 couldn't hold on any longer and fell to their knees as well. "By the way, how many people are in your celestial god group? Who's the boss?" Zhan wasn't in a hurry to make a move. I don't know." Subai raised his head, looking blank. "I really don't know. It's all God's will. The moment I became a saint, I received God's will." "You're bullshitting me. You don't know anything. So why is there a celestial god number 24? Zhan immediately expressed his disbelief. Subai struggled for a moment, but in order to survive, he still said, That was all I made up to better fool them." These words, coming from his mouth, were equivalent to directly digging out the seeds planted in his followers' hearts. Sure enough, the expressions of Liang Hao and the others went blank, as if they had broken free from some state, and then they looked at Subai with incomparable anger. Only now did they realize. They had actually been controlled by this Subai. "Big brother, spare my life. It's all his fault. I was controlled by him." Realizing what had happened, the 3 quickly kowtowed and begged for forgiveness, pushing everything onto Subai. Chapter 72. Holy. Forget about those 2. But you, a goddamn elf, trying to pull this on me? Zhan was speechless and directly cursed. "Do you think you're the only one who knows about the elf curse? Sorry, the system gave me a notification too." Hearing this, Zhang Hong knew that the other party would never let him go, and with a fierce determination, he decided to risk it all. But just as he picked up his staff, a bolt of lightning directly struck him. In the blink of an eye, Zhang Hong convulsed continuously. In just 5 seconds, the elf thunder mage turned into a charred corpse, which scattered into the air with a gentle breeze. "Woof, woof, 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 playing with lightning in front of me? Let me show you what real lightning is." Bei Lao He snorted twice, looking at number 1 with a smug expression. Finally, He had shown his face in front of his boss. He hoped his boss would praise him. The hearts of Su Bai and the others completely turned cold. A shadow assassin was killed by that black-armored warrior in an instant. An elf thunder mage was killed by the thunderdog. What kind of monster was the other party? How many more tricks did he have up his sleeve? You bastard! Who told you to kill him? But Lu Zhan slapped the dog on the head and angrily said, "What do you get from killing him? I can get gold coins from killing him. You wasteful dog." Woof, woof, woof. Bei Lao He almost burst into tears of grievance. Lu Zhan took a deep breath, finally suppressing his anger, glanced at the three of them, and lost interest, saying indifferently, "Kill them." As soon as the words left his mouth, just as the three of them were about to resist desperately, they saw that the black-armored warrior was already beside them. Then, "Hi-I." A voice that seemed to come from hell rang out. Liang Hao and Zhang Cheng couldn't hold on and collapsed to the ground, as if their souls had been scared away. Su Bai's mental strength was much stronger, so he was a little better, but he couldn't help but tremble. This fear might only last for a second, but it was enough for number one. With 3 swings of the Mad Flame magic axe, the axe that struck Liang Hao directly exploded with damage, killing him on the spot. The 2 axes that struck Zhang Cheng and Su Bai didn't kill them outright, but they were half dead, and even more miserable in the burning state, equivalent to being burned alive, which was worse than being killed in an instant. Lu Zhan opened the class advancement task. The task to kill a holy attribute class holder was indeed marked as completed. The most difficult one was done. Now all that was left was to kill demons. Then, Lu Zhan retrieved the undead army he had brought out to show off, back into the pocket dimension, looked at the corpses on the ground, wanting to see if anyone's luck had exploded and dropped something. Suddenly, he saw that the book that had fallen on the ground was emitting a holy light, directly shining on Lu Zhan's body. Damn it! In an instant, an extreme sense of revulsion and hostility rose in Lu Zhan's heart. With a thought, number one's axe directly chopped at the book. However, with this axe, the book didn't seem to be damaged in any way or even burn. A moment later, the holy light disappeared, and the book had also disappeared. And in Lu Zhan's mind, the system's voice rang again. Ding, please note, you have gained a negative effect, holy curse. Damn nigger. Lu Zhan forcefully swallowed the curse back into his stomach. This was poisonous, wasn't it? Was one elf curse not enough? He had to give him a holy curse too? Was his hidden talent absorbing curses? Without even looking, Lu Zhan knew the content of this curse. Sure enough, it was exactly the same as the elf one. In summary, it was one sentence. He had to kill any elf or holy-related classes he met. What angered him the most was that others could get everything of his by killing him. What did he get for killing others besides gold coins? This wasn't fair. At least give him a death curse. Whatever. Lu Zhan took a deep breath. Anyway, according to the setting of this apocalypse, holy and death should have been originally antagonistic. Otherwise, his advancement task couldn't have been to kill holy class holders. The only downside was that with this curse, he couldn't hide. But this celestial god group was something else. Did gods really exist? If there were gods, why would there be an apocalypse? And what was up with that book? It could disappear on its own? Thinking of this, Lu Zhan suddenly thought of his talent. Protection of the Death Monarch. If there were gods, then this Death Monarch should be the god of his death faction, right? He wondered if that old man really existed. Lu Zhan shook his head. These things were too far from him. Thinking about them was just making trouble for himself. Looking at the ground again, the corpse of that augmentation warrior had dropped a piece of equipment. Picking it up, he found that it was an earring. Warrior earring. Rank, green. Equipment requirements, level 3, class attribute warrior. Strength +5. Critical hit rate plus 0.5%. Seeing this, Lu Zhan's mood was even worse. A hidden class actually carried such trash. It was a disgrace to hidden classes. He threw it directly into the exchange market for 100 gold coins. However, completing the most difficult part of the advancement task was already the biggest gain. Thinking of this, Lu Zhan's mood improved. Brother Lu, please spare my mother. My mother is being controlled. Just then, Wang Yang crawled over, kowtowing to Lu Zhan. Just now, he saw Zhao Ling, who was lying on the ground, move. Obviously, She hadn't been electrocuted to death by Bei Lao He. In his surprise, he hurried over to plead for mercy. Yes, 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 Brother Lu, my wife. She's not acting of her own will. Please let her go. Wang Ming also knelt down. During the battle just now, the father and son, along with Wang Yi, hid behind, trembling and not daring to breathe. At this moment, Lu Zhan was no different from a god in their eyes. Around them, those who were lucky enough not to be electrocuted to death also woke up. With Su Bai's death, the seeds planted in their hearts disappeared, but the memories wouldn't. Thinking that they had actually tried to attack and kill their savior, shame appeared on their faces. I'm sorry, Brother Lu. I was blinded by evil. Brother Lu, I'm sorry. Lu Zhan didn't care. It was like walking on the road and being bitten by an ant. It didn't hurt or itch, and there was really nothing to fuss about. Lu Zhan took the tiger-side ingredients out of his storage ring and threw them to Zhao Ling, who had already woken up, and said, "Make it delicious. Don't waste it." After saying that, he turned around and left. He was tired after a day. It was time to rest. Zhao Ling picked up the thick, sausage-like thing. Although she didn't know what it was, it must be very valuable. The next second, she slapped herself hard. Among everyone in this town, Lu Zhan treated her the best. Not only had he saved her whole family, but he had also taken her son and husband to level up. And she had actually tried to poison her benefactor. She was worse than a pig or dog. Mom, don't be like this. Brother Lu won't blame you. Brother Lu is a good person. Wang Yang grabbed Zhao Ling's hand and said, crying. Lu Zhan, who was walking ahead, couldn't help but smile when he heard this. Was he a good person? Chapter 73, Rapid Progress. That night, Zhao Ling walked into the room with a plate. The plate contained the dish made with the ingredients that Lu Zhan had given her. Brother Lu, I've made it. Zhao Ling placed the plate on the table, saying cautiously, Do you need me to try a bite for you first? No need. Lu Zhan sat up from the bed and said indifferently. The aroma coming from the things on the table was incredibly tempting. This temptation was different from the elixir during the day. It was a pure aroma that stimulated appetite. Dry-fried tiger side, after the first consumption, increases physique by 10 points, strength by 5 points. It was a fixed value. This meant that it would definitely increase these many attributes. Good stuff. The tiger side ingredients were good, but Zhao Ling's skills were also a factor. Lu Zhan had heard that the effect of food made by chefs wasn't fixed. There was a luck component and a skill component. Not bad. Take a little back for your son and husband to try. Lu Zhan said. Thank you, Brother Lu. Zhao Ling quickly thanked him. She knew the value of this thing from the moment she made it. Gaining a level only increased attributes by 3 points. And this added 15 points. What that meant was evident. She picked up chopsticks and picked out 2 small pieces from the plate, placed them directly in her hand, and carried them home. Anyway, it didn't matter how much of this was eaten. It would increase attributes as long as you ate it. After the woman left, Lu Zhan shouted towards the door. Hey Fu, come in and eat some too. Okay, Brother Lu. Zhang Tianfu walked in excitedly. He didn't dare to eat too much, ate a piece or two, and quickly retreated after adding the attributes. The remaining large plate was naturally all eaten by Lu Zhan. But after eating, he suddenly felt a burst of heat in his body, engorgement. He forgot he ate tiger side. It was a bit too nourishing. Hey Fu, help me find 3 or 4 girls. Remember, they have to be willing, no coercion. Lu Zhan didn't have any special fetishes. He liked enjoying the moment. The next day, Lu Zhan walked out of the door, and the corpses had all been cleaned up. This small town already had some of the shadow of before the apocalypse. Social order was slowly being restored. He heard that the town had re-elected a mayor, who was Zhao Ling. On one hand, it was because Zhao Ling was close to Lu Zhan. On the other hand, it was naturally because the woman also had some tricks up her sleeve. Wang Ming and his son had also gained a lot of gold coins from killing monsters yesterday, and Zhao Ling directly exchanged some food and supplies from the vending machine. In this apocalypse, those with resources had the right to speak. Using precious gold coins to buy people's hearts, it was hard to say whether it was worth it. But that had nothing to do with Lu Zhan. He was just a passerby. Hey Fu, gather the people, let's set out. Brother Lu, this is the last village near our town. The others are too far away. Wang Yi pointed ahead, saying with a smile. After spending a few days together, he was familiar with Brother Lu's temperament. There weren't that many rules, and there was no need to be too cautious. He just needed to remember one thing. That was to unconditionally execute any of Lu Zhan's instructions. He had also gained many benefits these days. Even his level had risen to level 7, and he had gotten a lot of gold coins. He was already a small tycoon in the town. Thank you for your hard work. Lu Zhan, sitting on Bei Laohei's back, nodded. Now that 3 days had passed since he killed that saint. In these 3 days, they had successively cleaned 5 villages and towns, killing 700 or 800 monsters, if not 1,000. Lu Zhan's level was now 15. As the experience required to level up became larger and larger, leveling up naturally became more and more difficult. Even Huang Shengren was only level 16. At level 15, Lu Zhan had reached a point where he could have 33 undead. Except for number 1, who was a brave grade, the other 32 were all elite grade. Even the undead transformed from the Mad Flame Tiger Demon had been sacrificed to elite grade, with all 3 major attributes exceeding 100. He was the second general below number 1. In addition, Lu Zhan also tried to continue sacrificing number 1. For this reason, he even upgraded the sacrifice skill to level 4. However, the failure rate of the sacrifice was still close to 99%. It was purely a waste of sacrifices. There was no other choice. These sacrifices were too trashy for number 1. This benefited Bei Laohei. They couldn't be used for sacrificing, so they naturally benefited it. This big black dog had been eating heartily these few days, and his strength was getting more and more terrifying. Brother Lu, should we just charge in? Beside him, Zhang Tianfu said with an excited expression. His gains were the biggest in these 3 days. Not only did his level rise to level 13, but he also completed his class advancement task. There were 2 advancement directions for shield warriors. One was a battle shield that could both fight and defend, and the other was a pure tank that completely gave up output. Zhang Tianfu, who had decided to closely follow in Lu Zhan's footsteps, didn't hesitate to choose the second one. Anyway, following Brother Lu, his only role was to taunt and be a tank. He didn't have a chance to deal damage. The pure tank's advancement class was called Steel Body. After advancing, not only did stamina increase greatly, but he also unlocked 2 advanced skills. Passive skill, Steel Will, which greatly reduces pain, making the will more determined. Active skill, Steel Body, which directly turned the body to steel, greatly increasing defense. Now this guy could withstand brave grade monsters for a few minutes. His defense after becoming steel was about the same as Lu Zhan's. Charge in, you lead. Lu Zhan said directly. There wouldn't be any powerful monsters in this small village, maybe not even a brave grade one. This was also what gave him a headache. He had completed everything else in this advancement task, but he had only killed 6 brave grade ones out of 10. He didn't know where to get the other 4. Okay, Brother Lu. Zhang Tianfu took his shield and walked to the village entrance in a loud and swaggering manner, directly roaring. Damn monsters, open fire on me. In an instant, dozens of monsters rushed out. Black skinhounds, a pure black dog-shaped monster, with no hair all over its body, just a bare black skin. The characteristic of this monster was that it was slippery. That layer of smooth skin had a special effect of dodging attacks. For example, if you slashed with a sword, the sword wouldn't cut into the dog's body. It would slide down its skin. This kind of thing would be very troublesome to fight if you didn't have enough strength. But with number 1's terrifying strength, killing them was easy and effortless. Lu Zhan glanced at them slightly. There were only 4 or 5 elite-level sharp-toothed black skinhounds. The rest were all ordinary. Sure enough, there wasn't a brave grade one. Seeing this, he immediately lost interest. Up ahead, Zhang Tianfu directly activated Taunt. The range and strength of Taunt were greatly increased after advancing. With this taunt, dozens of black skin hounds all pounced on him. Zhang Tianfu's body instantly emitted a steel-like luster. Clang, 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 clang. Those black skin hounds bit his body and even chipped off a lot of their teeth. Let's finish this quickly, Lu Zhan said indifferently. Behind him, number 1 leaped up, holding the Mad Flame Magic Axe. Chapter 74, Your H. King. In less than a minute, number 1 had returned behind Lu Zhan. In front, all the monsters were dead. Those dozens of monsters only increased Lu Zhan's experience by 10%, and he got nothing else. They didn't even drop a single enhancement stone. They were so stingy it was ridiculous. Go on, it's all yours. Zhan jumped off the dog's back and said to Bei Lao He, "Woof, woof, woof, woof. I can't do it." Bei Lao He shook his head wildly in refusal. Even though they weren't the same breed, they looked similar. How could he bring himself to eat them? Of course, the most important reason was that these black skin hounds were too terrible. They didn't taste good. If they were all brave grade, he'd eat them up, even if they looked exactly like him. "All right, if you don't eat, let's go," Zhan said, and climbed back onto the dog. He didn't even bother sacrificing these things. It was a pure waste of time. It seemed like it was time to leave this place and go somewhere else to roam. Bei Lao He was about to dash off when suddenly he heard an exclamation from Wang Yi. "Lu, brother Lu, look. Look at what that is." Before Zhan could turn his head, he heard Zhang Tianfu's slightly delighted voice. "Holy shit, brother Lu, it's a dungeon." Dungeon. Hearing those two words, Zhan immediately perked up and turned his head. Sure enough, he saw that familiar dungeon entrance. "Let's go. Brother Lu will take you to grind in the dungeon," Zhan said with a laugh. Even if it was just an ordinary dungeon, the first clear reward at this stage would be substantial. "Old He, you guard outside." Woof, woof, woof. Bei Lao He immediately felt aggrieved. Last time he guarded, he had a big tiger come along, and it almost gave him a mental breakdown. Relax, what big tiger is going to come to this forsaken place? Besides, you've eaten so much. What are you afraid of? Zhan said sternly, then stopped paying attention to the dog and eagerly walked toward the dungeon entrance. But just then, an arrow tore through the sky, whistling as it came. Zhan directly reached out and grabbed it with his bare hand. "Who's the fool who dares to shoot brother Lu?" Wang Yi immediately looked at the direction the arrow came from and cursed loudly. With brother Lu around, he had to take advantage and act powerful. "This dungeon belongs to us, so everyone move aside." In the distance, a person came galloping quickly on a wind demon wolf. Behind them were 5 motorcycles. "Yo, brother Lu, it's a ghost fire team," Zhang Tianfu said with a laugh. Someone actually dared to try to take brother Lu's dungeon. This was pure stupidity. Zhan was also slightly surprised and looked at the people who came. In the apocalypse, most people had the necessary caution. If they were going to fight, they'd usually test the waters first. Those who attacked directly were either extremely confident experts or extremely idiotic kids. Sure enough, those who came were all wild youths around 20 years old, definitely the kind of age where they were easily impulsive. Especially the leader, with a head of white hair and a face full of arrogance. The wind demon wolf he rode was even more extraordinary, looking even more imposing than Bei Lao He. Zhan could tell at a glance. This guy was definitely a spoiled young master before the apocalypse, and he probably was doing pretty well after the apocalypse. If he was in an internet novel, this kind of person would be specifically prepared to be a tool for the protagonist to show off. He never thought he'd actually encounter one. It just goes to show that the world is vast and full of wonders. "We want this dungeon, so you guys can wait. If it's a duplicate dungeon, you can go in second." The white-haired youth, riding on the wind demon wolf, said condescendingly. "That's right. The first clear is for young Master Lu. You guys wait. Get out of the way. What are you looking at? Haven't you ever seen a handsome guy?" Behind him, the people riding the motorcycles also cheered for the white-haired youth. At a time like this, being able to afford a motorcycle meant they definitely had some resources. "Are you a beast tamer?" Zhan glanced at the wind demon wolf and suddenly asked. The wind demon wolf looked very intelligent, unlike the undead, who were mindlessly stupid. It should be alive. He'd been pretending to be a beast tamer for so long, and he finally encountered the real deal. "That's right, I am a beast tamer, and I've already advanced to an elite beast tamer," young Master Lu said with a look of pride. "Are you a beast tamer too? Your dog's not bad, but it's still not as good as my wolf." But as soon as the words left his mouth, Bei Lao He suddenly stretched out his head, and with a snap, the wind demon wolf's head was bitten off whole. "Woof, woof, woof, tastes good," Bei Lao He said as he chewed. This brat actually said he was worse than this stupid wolf? It was just one bite. With a thump, the headless wind demon wolf fell to the ground, and young Master Han fell heavily on top of it. Even after he stood up, his head was still empty. "What? just happened? Behind Lu Zhan, number 1 disappeared directly, then with a few quick swings of his axe, chopped the 4 Ghostfire teens on motorcycles into several pieces. He didn't have time to play with these kids here. You can't kill me. My dad is Lu Han. Young Master Lu completely broke down, and tears streamed down his face. He had never been so scared in his life. Lu Han? The sword that Lu Zhan was about to thrust out suddenly stopped, and he asked, "Your dad is Lu Han? The Ice Mage?" "Ah, yes. That's right, the Ice Mage. Good brother. So you know my dad? Then we're family." Young Master Lu said frantically, as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw. Lu Zhan thought for a moment, and then said, "Come here, stand next to me." "Okay, brother." Young Master Lu very obediently walked to Lu Zhan's side. Lu Zhan sized him up and found that they were about the same height and build, and a smile appeared on his face. "Brother, can I leave now?" Young Master Lu said boldly, seeing the smile on the other person's face. "By the way, what's your name?" My name is Lu Fei." "Lu Fei, a good name. What about your mother?" "My mom's name is Zhang Yinyan." "Do you have any older sisters, younger sisters, older brothers, younger brothers?" "And no, I'm an only child." Next, Lu Zhan asked a bunch of questions about this and that, and Lu Fei obediently answered anything he was asked. "Brother, why are you asking all this?" "It's nothing, just getting to know you, to avoid giving myself away later." Lu Zhan took out a mask and said, "Giving yourself away? Brother, what do you mean by giving yourself away?" Lu Fei said, confused. The next second, a flash of sword light passed. Lu Fei's wide eyes never closed again, and he fell straight to the ground. Even as he died, he couldn't figure out how he died when everything was going so well. Lu Zhan put away his sword and stripped off all the clothes and jewelry from the other person's body, first throwing them into the storage ring, and then saying to Bei Lao He, "Eat them." What better way to destroy the evidence than eating them? Woof, woof, woof. People don't taste good. If you don't eat, you can't have anything in the future. Bei Lao He flicked his tongue, and a few corpses were all swallowed down, leaving no trace. Chapter 75, Tower of Trials. Lu Zhan put the mask back in the pocket dimension. It was the disguise mask he had obtained before. Lu Fei was a beast tamer, which perfectly fit his disguise. He could have Bei Lao He pretend to be a spirit beast. It wasn't the first time he was disguised. As for hair, the vending machine had everything. As long as there were enough gold coins, you could get any hair color you wanted. When the time came, he'd have the appearance, the form, and the spirit beast. Who could say he wasn't Lu Fei? Most importantly, this kid's dad, Lu Han, was a real character, one of the future 12 heavenly kings, the Ice King. King. The Ice King's son's identity was quite impressive. He was offending more and more people now, and it was certain that he would offend even more in the future, so it wasn't impossible to pretend later. Of course, he didn't have any specific plans. This was just something he did along the way, and it was possible that the mask would always be thrown in the storage ring and never be used. It was just something that was delivered to his door, so there was no reason not to take it. "Let's go into the dungeon," Lu Zhan said. It was still important to do the right thing. Walking to the dungeon entrance, Lu Zhan directly put his hand on it. Soon, the dungeon information was displayed. Dungeon, Tower of Trials. Type, Trial. Level, Brave. Number of people limited, none. It was actually the Tower of Trials. A look of excitement flashed across Lu Zhan's face. In his previous life, he had only heard the legends about this thing, let alone enter it. The Tower of Trials was a very special dungeon. The probability of it appearing was extremely low, and there was no fixed pattern or location. It would randomly appear anywhere in the world, and each time it appeared, it would only exist for 1 hour. After an hour, even if no one entered, it would disappear directly. It could be said that encountering this thing really depended purely on luck. Unlike ordinary dungeons, the Tower of Trials really existed in the form of a tower. Each Tower of Trials had 99 floors. Each person who entered could get a reward for clearing each floor, and could choose to quit or continue at the same time. Of course, it was called a trial, but if you died inside, you'd really die. In other words, as long as you did what you could and didn't force yourself to seek death, The Tower of Trials was a pure treasure land. Even if you only cleared one floor, that was still a reward. Even Zhan, although he didn't know how many floors he could reach, he was certain that he couldn't clear 99 floors right now. Zhan took his hand back and said to Zhang Tianfu and Wang Yi, "This is considered a solo dungeon, and everyone is independent once inside. So everything depends on you. I only have one sentence: don't seek death. If you already feel that you are struggling on a certain floor, it's best to just quit and not continue." "Okay, Brother Liu." The two nodded quickly. After following him for so long, they were naturally familiar with Brother Liu's style. Don't ask anything, just do it. Zhan didn't say anything else and stepped into the dungeon entrance. Seeing Brother Liu's figure disappear, Zhang Tianfu and the other two looked at each other, and without hesitating, they entered it. On the spot, only Bei Lao He was left lying on the ground, boredly fiddling with the corpses of those black-skinned hounds. Should he try a taste? Ding. Welcome to the Tower of Trials. Please choose whether to start the trial challenge. Please note that once you choose to start the challenge, you can only choose to continue or quit after passing. Please do what you can and choose carefully. As the system's voice rang in his ears, Zhan appeared on the first floor of the Tower of Trials. The space wasn't big, only about 10 square meters. This wasn't even enough space for Zhan to summon all of his undead. But that was okay. A large number of undead played a huge role in group battles. But in small boss battles like this, summoning them would only be sending them to their deaths. It was better to keep them in the undead space to increase his attributes. With a thought, Zhan only summoned number 1 and prepared to start the trial directly. The next second, in the open space in front of him, the figure of a monster slowly began to appear. Roar! It was actually an old acquaintance, Raging Ape. The first floor was still pretty user-friendly, a normal-grade monster. Zhang Tianfu should be fine, but Wang Yi was a bit dangerous. Speaking of which, he still didn't know what Wang Ye's job as a guide was. As Zhan thought about it, number 1 had already raised his axe and killed the ape directly. The dead ape disappeared directly, not giving Zhan a chance to transform it. Challenge successful. Reward: 1 enhancement stone. Would you like to continue? An enhancement stone? That was really stingy. But it was only the first floor, so it was normal. Continue. With a boom, a stone door opened next to the room, revealing the stairs behind it. Zhan didn't hesitate and walked up directly. He didn't expect there to be such a step. The time interval was too long, so number 1's overcoming strength was failing to stay active. This was a problem. Otherwise, if it kept stacking, Zhan really had the idea of challenging all 99 floors. When Zhan stepped into the second floor, 3 figures appeared in front of him. It was jumping rabbits. This thing was also an ordinary monster. Don't be fooled by the cute name. It was powerful, with a pair of big white rabbit legs and astonishing lethality. Of course, this was relative. In front of number 1, it was just 1 axe for each, clean and neat. Challenge successful. Reward: 3 enhancement stones. Would you like to continue? 3 stones were decent. Continue. The door to the 3rd floor opened again. On the 3rd floor, what appeared was actually 3 black and slender cats, eerie shadow cats, elite-grade monsters, and 3 of them at once. Finally, there was a little bit of difficulty. The 3 shadow cats were extremely fast, and their figures were like shadows, elusive. Even number 1 couldn't kill all 3 of them quickly. One of them actually stretched out its claws and scratched Zhan's face fiercely. Then its claws broke. It had underestimated the thickness of Zhan's skin. With a whoosh, the sword in Zhan's hand slashed through the air, cutting the shadow cat with the broken claws in half. Challenge successful. Reward: blue equipment shadow ring. Would you like to continue? Shadow ring. Rank: blue. Requirements: level 10, class attribute shadow. Agility plus 15. Critical hit rate plus 1%. Shadow skill damage plus 10%. Not bad. A small masterpiece. He could sell it for a good price. Zhan put it in the storage ring and then chose to continue. On the 4th floor, the difficulty increased again. This time there were actually 5 elite monsters. There wasn't much to say. No matter how many elite-level monsters there were, they were useless to Zhan. They couldn't break his defense, let alone kill him. In just 15 seconds, the system's voice rang out again. Challenge successful. Reward: 10,000 gold coins. Would you like to continue? The rewards were really all kinds, and there were even gold coins. Zhan was a little surprised. He didn't know if this thing was random or fixed. If it was based on luck, Zhang Tianfu should be able to get some good things. Chapter 76, Centaur Warrior. On the 5th floor, there was only one monster. Brave grade monster, Shadow Mantis. Seeing this thing, a smile appeared on Zhan's face. For him, the meaning of this Tower of Trials wasn't just the rewards for clearing the tower. There were also these brave grade monsters. Now his advancement task was 4 brave grade monsters away from being done, and he was afraid it would take a long time to find them outside. And in this tower, there was a good chance that he could finish the task directly. Zhan was smiling when he saw that the Shadow Mantis in front of him had disappeared. Then, with a clang, the Shadow Mantis scythe daggers directly slashed Zhan's neck. Obviously, it still failed to break his defense. Zhan's physique was now close to 300. It was hard to imagine that his class was a mage. Boom. The next second, number 1's axe swung down, but missed. The Shadow Mantis reacted extremely quickly and retreated almost the moment it attacked. Whether it killed it or not, it would leave after one strike. This was a quality that a qualified assassin should have. But as soon as the Shadow Mantis retreated, number 1's axe was already chasing after it, and it struck it with lightning speed. It should be noted that goblins were also good at agility. With a poof, green blood splattered. The Shadow Mantis died instantly. Challenge successful. Reward, Shadow Cloak. Would you like to continue? Shadow Cloak can enter stealth after wearing. Attacking or being attacked will break the stealth state. Good stuff. Zhan's eyes lit up. Although he always liked to go head-to-head, he still needed to sneak around sometimes. Continue. It was worthy of being the legendary Tower of Trials. It was already giving such good things on the 5th floor. If he got to the 99th floor, he'd have golden god-level equipment. When he got to the 6th floor, the style suddenly changed. What appeared in front of him was no longer the empty room he'd seen before, but a destroyed battlefield. In the center of the battlefield, a very strange figure slowly appeared. Its upper body was a human-like body, wearing black armor, and had 2 huge horns on its head. Its hands held a huge, long-handled battle axe. However, its lower body was the body of a horse. Centaur Warrior. Zhan was shocked. This was only an ordinary grade monster, but it was much stronger than the brave grade Shadow Mantis on the previous floor. The Centaur race had already touched the threshold of the upper race in monsters. Of course, Zhan didn't care about this one. He just didn't expect that this kind of demon race had already appeared on the 6th floor. Could it be that there would be a dragon race later on? Ayo. The Centaur Warrior raised its battle axe and howled. In an instant, the Centaur Warrior started charging with all 4 hooves at full speed. It was as fast as lightning. Zhan jumped up and dodged the impact. Although his physique was high, there was no need to resist it head-on. On the other side, number 1 had already leaped high and slashed down at the Centaur Warrior. The Centaur Warrior wasn't afraid at all and chopped with its battle axe. The 2 axes collided in the air, and sparks flew everywhere. The strength of this Centaur Warrior was actually on par with number 1, but its agility was still much worse. After slashing with this axe, number 1 landed on the ground and slashed at the horse's legs again. The Centaur Warrior couldn't keep up at all and could only watch as one of its horse legs was cut off. Then came the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. The Centaur Warrior fell directly to the ground, waving its battle axe with great anger. Without its legs, it was like a car without wheels and couldn't move. The next second, number 1 slashed his axe on its neck. With a boom, this axe also triggered explosive damage, directly killing the Centaur Warrior. Challenge successful. Reward, Skill Book, Battle Roar. Would you like to continue? Battle Roar. Learning requirements. Spirit 100. After releasing, it increases the attributes of all teammates by 10% for 10 minutes. The cooldown time is 30 minutes. It was actually a skill without class restrictions, but this Spirit of 100 was outrageous. Ordinary people probably couldn't reach it at this stage. Even Zhan couldn't do it. But this skill was quite good for Zhan, and he could save it for later learning. His so-called Necromancer didn't have a single active attack skill. They were all auxiliary buff skills. Since that was the case, he might as well just go all the way in strengthening the undead. When the time came, He'd imagined that scene. When the undead appeared, all kinds of buffs would be superimposed, and wherever they went, no grass would grow and everything would belong to death. Zhan looked forward to the future while walking to the next floor. As soon as he stepped onto the 7th floor, a dangerous aura directly came. In the air, a huge figure was swooping down on him, and the powerful wind almost blew him away. Without thinking, Zhan made a donkey roll and rolled to the side. Then, a familiar figure came into his eyes. A huge griffin. He didn't expect it to be this thing. He had 4 of them in his undead space. The different thing was that the griffin in front of him was golden all over. Elite-grade monster, golden griffin, and the scene had changed again. All he could see was green. This was a vast prairie, so where was the appearance of a tower? It seemed that the space on each floor of the Tower of Trials was equivalent to an alternate space. Not only were the monsters that appeared random, but even the scenes were random. With a thought, Zhan, Number 1 had already jumped up and directly jumped onto the back of the golden griffin by taking advantage of this opportunity. Under this kind of scene, he couldn't let it fly to a high place, otherwise it would be difficult to hit it. The golden griffin constantly flapped its wings, trying to throw Number 1 off its back. However, its attributes in all aspects were not as good as Number 1's, and it was just wishful thinking. Number 1 directly grabbed the other's neck with one hand, and held the axe in the other hand and slashed wildly. In an instant, the body of the golden griffin was covered with burning damage and was burned alive. This thing had sneaked up on Zhan from the beginning, which was a good tactic, but it also gave Zhan a chance. Otherwise, it would have been really difficult to do if it kept flying in the air. Challenge successful. Reward: golden wings. Would you like to continue? Wings. Zhan was instantly excited when he heard the 2 words. Sure enough, a pair of golden wings appeared in front of him. Golden wings. Can fly after wearing. Requires gold coins to charge. Although it was just a prop-type wing, it was far less practical and powerful than an equipment-type wing, and it also used gold coins as fuel. It was estimated that the consumption wouldn't be low, but at least he could fly. Just that one point was worth a lot. Continue. If nothing unexpected happened, the next level should be a brave-grade monster, and it wouldn't be weak. The previous few floors were basically no pressure for Zhan. They were equivalent to purely walking through the motions to get the rewards. So starting from the 8th floor, the real trial might begin. With the experience of the previous floor, Zhan knew that the monsters behind would appear in advance to wait for him. In order to avoid being sneaked up on, he directly summoned an ape undead and let it enter first. Sure enough, as soon as the ape entered, he heard an extremely shocking howl coming from inside. Chapter 77. War Mammoth. As Zhan stepped inside, the scene once again transformed into a battlefield, and his undead ape was being quickly carried away by something long and thin. Not far away, a massive figure loomed, and that long thing turned out to be its nose. Brave-grade monster, War Mammoth. This thing was like a behemoth, and Zhan looked about the size of an ant in front of it. Damn it! Zhan cursed under his breath. It wasn't that he was afraid of this thing, but war mammoths were famous for being thick-skinned and hard to kill. But since he'd made it this far, he had to kill it, no matter how difficult it was. Zhan thought for a moment, and Number 1 attacked, swinging his axe hard at the nose. Roar! The mammoth, in its pain, could only drop the undead ape. Then, under Zhan's control, the undead ape quickly ran back, and Zhan put it back into the undead space. One undead was worth almost 10 stat points. He couldn't let it sacrifice itself for nothing. But the next second, the war mammoth roared again, and a tremendous suction instantly came. The war mammoth's long nose stood in midair, seemingly trying to suck everything around it in. Zhan and Number 1's small bodies had almost no resistance, and their bodies flew straight up. They were about to be sucked into that nose. Number 1 vigorously flicked his hand, and the mad flame magic axe spun out, striking the edge of the nostril hard. With a boom, the explosive damage triggered, and a large section of the nose was blown off. Zhan, who had fallen to the ground, didn't hesitate. He took out his sword from the storage ring, and in a flash, came to the side of the war mammoth and stabbed quickly. With a thud, the sword pierced the thick skin. But for the war mammoth, it was like inserting a toothpick. It didn't even feel any pain. But it wasn't over yet. Lu Zhan grabbed the hilt of the sword with both hands, suddenly exerting force, and directly used the sword to cut open the thick outer skin, and blood spurted out instantly. Damn, that's a lot. Lu Zhan cursed and quickly dodged to avoid being drowned in blood. On the other side, after throwing out the axe, Number 1 exerted force in the air, his body shooting straight out, and then steadily landed on the long nose, pulling out the mad flame magic axe. Then he ran quickly along the long nose, and in just 3 seconds, he reached the front of the war mammoth and swung his axe down. With a boom, the explosive damage triggered again, and what Number 1 cut wasn't anything else but the war mammoth's right eye. Roar! The war mammoth finally screamed, while raising its 2 forelegs high and then stomping heavily on the ground. Seeing this, Lu Zhan quickly used both hands and feet to climb onto the war mammoth's body and then hugged it tightly. Skill, War Stomp. A large-scale control and killing skill. And unlike the wild gorilla's Earth Shatter, this War Stomp wasn't just aimed at the ground, but at the stomping of the entire space within the range. Even jumping wouldn't avoid it. The only way to avoid it was to jump onto the war mammoth's body. Rumble. The entire space shook the moment the mammoth stomped down. This process lasted for 3 seconds. Although Lu Zhan, on the mammoth's back, wasn't hit by the skill, his head was dizzy. He shook his head, and when he woke up, he raised his sword again and stabbed it down hard. But with a snap, the sword broke directly. Damn it! Lu Zhan cursed angrily. Fortunately, he had prepared several of these trash swords in his space, and immediately took another one out and continued to stab. Number 1 wasn't idle either. This guy stood directly on the war mammoth's face and unleashed a barrage of attacks on its head. Explosive damage would be triggered from time to time. The war mammoth struggled frantically, running and jumping. However, those 2 guys were like dog skin plaster, sticking to its body. After a full 3 minutes, the war mammoth's huge body finally collapsed with a bang. Its back was already full of pits and hollows, like a swamp. This was the result of Lu Zhan wasting 5 swords. And its head was extremely miserable, directly missing most of it, emitting bursts of burnt fragrance. It's finally dead. Lu Zhan sat down on the war mammoth's back. Killing this thing was too tiring. Challenge successful. Reward. Skill book, thick skin. Would you like to continue? It was actually another skill book, and judging from the name, it wouldn't be for Zhang Tianfu, would it? Lu Zhan looked at the requirement column at first glance. Learning requirement. Physique 150. Such a high requirement. But fortunately, there was no class requirement, and this requirement was outrageous for others, but not high for him. Lu Zhan directly learned it without looking at the skill effect. Anyway, this apocalypse didn't have a skill bar setting. It didn't matter how many skills you learned. If it wasn't easy to use, you could just not use it. In an instant, Lu Zhan felt a slight difference and looked at his skin, which had become somewhat dull yellow, somewhat close to the skin color of the war mammoth. Lu Zhan frowned, indicating that this was a passive skill. Fortunately, he didn't rely on his appearance for a living, so it didn't matter if it was yellow. Thick skin. Passive skill. Forms a thick skin on the surface of the skin, greatly enhancing defense. Defense is determined by physique. Lu Zhan reached out his hand, and then with a thought, Number 1 swung his axe at his arm without any hesitation. With a boom, this axe even triggered explosive damage. Lu Zhan saw a burst of fire flashing in front of him, and at the same time, there was a burning and stinging sensation on his arm, but that was all. He shook his arm, and after the burning effect disappeared, there was only some redness on Lu Zhan's arm, not even a wound. Such strong defense. If this skill was put out, those defensive class professionals might fight to grab it. It was also a god-level skill for Lu Zhan. His physique was much higher than most defensive professionals of the same level. So far, Lu Zhan had obtained 2 skill books, 2 special effect practical items, and 1 piece of equipment. In addition, he had also killed 2 brave grade monsters, taking him 1 step closer to class advancement. It was worthy of being the Tower of Trials. He had heard in his previous life that this thing was a real treasure, and everyone who went in could return with a full load. But it was also really difficult to encounter. It was said that even those powerhouses at the level of the 8 emperors, several of them had never entered the Tower of Trials. He might have gotten lucky because of Tianfu. After tidying up, Lu Zhan stood up and chose to continue the trial. Next floor. Ninth floor. Zhan followed his usual practice and let an undead ape enter first. But there was no sound or reaction. Just as he was wondering, he received the information that the undead had returned to eternity. An assassin-type monster, huh? Zhan's eyes narrowed slightly. This type of monster could be said to be easy to kill and difficult to kill. It was easy to kill because the defense of this type of monster was generally not too high. If you attacked it, you could often seriously damage it. It was difficult to kill because this kind of thing was often mysterious and unpredictable. It was extremely difficult to capture their movements, let alone attack them. Chapter 78. Undead Dominator. After thinking for a moment, Zhan directly summoned the undead transformed from the Mad Flame Tiger Demon. This guy had eaten a full 100 undead and had been forcibly sacrificed by Zhan to the elite level. Its attributes were even higher than number 1. Of course, if they fought, this Mad Flame Tiger Demon was no match for number 1. With this guy going up, Zhan didn't believe that the things inside could kill it in seconds. Sure enough, as soon as the undead tiger demon went up, it made a strange sound, as if a sharp blade had cut through something. Zhan didn't hesitate and rushed in instantly, with number 1 following closely behind. In an instant, the surroundings went dark directly, without a bit of light. This layer was actually a nighttime environment, and there were no stars or a moon. It was extremely dark. Meow. Just then, a shrill voice suddenly rang out, and Zhan's mind shook. This cry actually had a spirit deterrent effect, causing him to stop. The next second, several claws slashed towards his face. With a shred sound, the claws slashed across, leaving a shallow bloodstain on Zhan's face. And Zhan also saw the other person's figure clearly. Brave Grade Monster, Dark Knight Cat Demon. This was completely different from the Shadow Cat before. They were two different races of monsters. Unlike that Shadow Cat, this Dark Knight Cat Demon had hands and feet and a slender figure. What was even more outrageous was that it was actually naked, a S-grade beauty. Of course, that was if you didn't look at its face. If you saw this thing's face, you could be scared shitless. That was completely a cat face, and it was an ugly one. In the darkness, Zhan's vision was limited, and he could only see a blurry figure, but he still thrust out his sword, unsurprisingly missing. But just then, a burst of fire shone out, instantly illuminating the surrounding space. Zhan looked over and saw number 1's Mad Flame magic axe firmly on the ground. It looked like he'd missed. But this fire also allowed Zhan to see the situation clearly. Good lord. There were actually 2 Dark Knight Cat Demons, a pair of cat demon sisters. Just now, one was attacking him, and the other was still attacking the undead tiger demon. In just a moment, the undead tiger demon was covered in claw marks. But with the undead tiger demon's physique, it could still hold on for a while, and Zhan wasn't in a hurry to take it back. Taking advantage of this ray of light, he chased directly towards the shadow cat demon. But this fire was just for a moment. When the fire disappeared, the surroundings fell into darkness again. This shadow cat demon seemed to have special buffs in the darkness. There wasn't a trace of aura, so it couldn't be captured at all. Since that was the case, Zhan's mind moved. Number 1 on the side directly swung his axe wildly, smashing it into the ground. Boom, 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 boom. With number 1's speed of 5 axes per second, even if the probability of triggering an explosion was low, it was still triggering constantly. For a time, the entire space was filled with fire, and the 2 shadow cat demons were completely nowhere to hide. Meow. The shadow cat demon made a panicked sound, scurrying around, trying to escape. But just then, a strange sound suddenly rang out. Number 1, who was smashing the ground, still had time to unleash the lament of death. The 2 shadow cat demons, who were already a little panicked, directly fell into tremendous fear and stood there stupidly. Zhan stepped forward and pierced the body of one cat demon with a sword, and then stirred it frantically. On the other side, the undead tiger demon finally seized the opportunity, hugged with both hands, and hugged the cat demon tightly in its arms, and then bit down towards the cat's head. The big tiger's head directly swallowed the cat's head whole. Then snap. In just 1 second, the situation was directly reversed, and the 2 shadow cat demons, who had been on the offensive, passed away instantly. Assassin-type players were like this. Once they revealed a flaw, they would die very quickly. As the bodies of the two Dark Knight cat demons disappeared, the system's voice also rang out in time. Challenge successful. Reward. Equipment. Lothar's Edge. Would you like to continue? Equipment was here. Lu Zhan's heart fluttered. Looking at his hand, he saw that a dagger had appeared. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. It wouldn't be another piece of equipment for an assassin-type class, would it? Lothar's Edge. Rank. Purple. Equipment requirements. Agility 150. Agility plus 20. Physical attack power plus 100. Critical hit rate plus 10%. Gust of wind. Active enter stealth. Increases movement speed by 20%. A strike from stealth will deal 200% critical damage. Lasts 20 seconds. Cooldown 60 seconds. Holy shit. Even Lu Zhan, who had seen a lot of good things, couldn't help but swear directly when he saw this. Purple equipment. He actually got a piece of purple equipment. It should be noted that even now, he had a piece of purple equipment, which was the Holy Grail Ring. The Holy Grail Ring could be said to have played a huge role in allowing him to get to this point. He didn't expect that he would get another piece of purple equipment now. Unfortunately, although this Lothar's Edge didn't have requirements for class attributes, it was obviously suitable for assassin-type classes. Although he could use it, it was a bit of a waste. This kind of weapon equipment didn't take effect just by carrying it, but had to be held in hand. He couldn't hold a dagger in one hand and a sword in the other, could he? Give it to number one? He should also be able to use it. Although the undead couldn't learn skills, the skills attached to the equipment should still be able to be used. After all, this thing didn't have mana value requirements. But if that was the case, it would be equivalent to forcing number one to change from an axe warrior to an assassin. In the end, Lu Zhan still put this Lothar's Edge into the storage ring first. If someone could offer a sky-high price, selling it wouldn't be impossible, or he could just exchange it for other equipment. Then, Lu Zhan took the undead tiger demon back into the undead space and opened the attribute panel with excitement. The skills, equipment, and props he had obtained on this trip to the Tower of Trials were only secondary. The class advancement task was the real reward. After killing those two Dark Knight cat demons, he had finally completed them all. Sure enough, in the class advancement task panel, the number of all 4 tasks had been reached, and below, a button for advancement had appeared. Lu Zhan took a deep breath and chose to advance. The next second, a selection panel appeared in front of Lu Zhan, just like the class selection at the beginning of the Apocalypse. Please choose your class advancement direction. 1. Undead Dominator. 2. Undead Archmage. Lu Zhan was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there were different advancement directions for necromancers. These 2 choices were obvious. The first was biased towards controlling the undead. The second was more biased towards mages, relying on magic to deal damage. The magic of the undead system shouldn't be too bad. But the main problem was that Lu Zhan's intelligence was too low, and the damage of magic was often linked to intelligence. There was no choice for him at all. He could only go all the way. Lu Zhan didn't hesitate and chose Undead Dominator. Chapter 79. Undead Summons. Ding! Congratulations on your successful class change. Your class has advanced to Undead Dominator. The system's voice echoed in Lu Zhan's mind, and he discovered with utter shock. He couldn't move. Only his mouth could still move on his whole body. What the hell is going on? The next second, the already incredibly dark 9th floor was suddenly swept by a gust of wind. Immediately afterward, the air began to generate a sky full of death aura, and all of this death aura poured into Lu Zhan's body. What the fuck? Lu Zhan hadn't expected such a change. He clearly remembered that when Zhang Tianfu advanced, it was completed in an instant and nothing happened. As the death aura entered, Lu Zhan's body began to grow cold, his heartbeat began to slow, and his breathing was gradually weakening. Am I going to die? Lu Zhan's heart panicked. He wanted to struggle, wanted to resist, but it was useless. He couldn't move. He still couldn't move. Why? Why is this happening? What about the class advancement he was promised? I don't want to die. In an instant, Lu Zhan's heart was occupied by intense fear, and the more afraid he became, the slower his heartbeat and the weaker his breath. Just as he was about to stop completely, Lu Zhan suddenly roared. Damn it! I'm a guy who's died once already. What the hell am I afraid of? Trying to mess with me, huh? Damn you! Son of a bitch! With each angry curse, the fear in Lu Zhan's heart began to slowly dissipate. His heartbeat began to beat again, and his breathing began to recover. When all the death aura had entered his body, Lu Zhan's cursing finally stopped, and he regained the ability to move. Lu Zhan couldn't help but feel a little scared. If he had really continued to be afraid, he might have really died. This was just a class advancement task, but it was actually the closest he had ever come to death. So this was the real advancement task. As a necromancer, he could be said to be death's little brother. How could he be afraid of death? Only at this moment was his advancement task truly completed. In the moment he became the undead dominator. Number 1 on the side, and all the undead in the undead space all knelt down involuntarily, as if welcoming the arrival of a king. That's quite the spectacle, Lu Zhan said mockingly, and opened his personal attribute panel. He wanted to see if this advanced class that had almost killed him had anything to say for itself. In the class column, it had already become Undead Dominator. In terms of attributes, there was no change in the 4 major attributes of strength, physique, agility, and intelligence. Only spirit had increased by a full 30 points. His spirit was now a full 70 points, which was probably stronger than many spirit-type hidden classes. The main enhancement of this advancement was in the skills. First, Undead Reincarnation had directly become Group Undead Reincarnation, and the number had also increased by 10 in one go, reaching 43 undead. Group Reincarnation meant that he didn't have to reincarnate them one by one in the future, but could reincarnate them in large quantities at the same time. This was definitely a qualitative change in large-scale battles. Just imagine, with a wave of his hand, a large number of dead bodies got up from the ground. That scene would be absolutely shocking. Undead Sacrifice was the same. Lu Zhan was a little teary-eyed. He wouldn't have to do mass production anymore. In addition, the biggest change was that he had 2 more skills. Undead Summon LV1. Consumes 100 mana, randomly summons an undead from the undead realm, signs a contract with it, and fights for you. Cooldown time, 1 minute. Undead level limit, normal. Quantity, Spirit/2. Eye of the Undead. Grants the perspective of a designated undead after casting. 2 more skills that had nothing to do with active attacks. It was worthy of being the Undead Dominator. It could be said that there was no strengthening of the class itself. However, just the Undead Summon skill alone already made Lu Zhan quite excited. Because of the existence of the talent, the undead weren't just undead to him, but also an increase in attributes. If the summoned undead could also have the talent effect, with his current 70 points of spirit, that would be a buff of 35 undead. It would be a qualitative change for him. With an excited and apprehensive mood, Lu Zhan directly cast the summon skill. He wasn't in a hurry to step onto the 10th floor after he was all prepared. A moment later, a flash of death aura passed. A small skeleton-like thing appeared in front of him, holding a white skeleton knife in its hand. The trembling look of it made Lu Zhan speechless. It wouldn't be blown over by a gust of wind, would it? But at least it had a bit of an undead appearance. Skeleton Soldier. Characteristics: Undead. Strength, 6. Physique, 6. Agility, 5. What the fuck? Lu Zhan was speechless at these attributes. They were almost the same as he was at the beginning of the apocalypse. Did this thing really have any combat power? And the attributes were too low. Lu Zhan couldn't even see if there was any increase. It seemed that the randomness was a bit of a pit. Lu Zhan gritted his teeth and simply added the 2 skill points he had saved to the Undead Summon skill. Nothing else changed, but the undead level limit became Brave. This meant that if he was lucky, he could summon a Brave grade undead. Then, Lu Zhan cast Undead Summon again. Death aura appeared again, and what was summoned this time was still a skeleton. But what was different was that the skeleton's bones were obviously much stronger than the previous one. They were glossy, strong, and textured. It even had a cloak on its body and held a skeleton staff in its hand. It was a bit like a magic staff. Lu Zhan was a little surprised. This thing wouldn't be a mage, would it? Skeleton Mage. Characteristics: Elite Grade Undead. Strength, 10. Physique, 21. Intelligence, 76. Spirit, 54. Skills: Ghost Fireball, Summon Skeleton Guard. Damn, it really was a mage. Perhaps this was the real undead creature. What he had reincarnated before were more like corpse puppets. Interesting. Could it be that there really was an undead realm, and the undead, like those monsters, were a huge race? Would summoning undead be helping the undead invade this world? This idea startled Zhan, but he shook his head afterward. Perhaps the undead were human allies, helping humans resist the invasion of monsters. Forget it. Forget it. He shouldn't think too much. He was just a nobody. Then, Zhan opened the attribute panel and was pleasantly surprised to find that his intelligence had obviously increased by a full 7 points. This meant that the summoned undead could also get the enhancement of the talent. In this way, spirit could also be enhanced, and spirit could determine the number of undead summoned. Wasn't this an infinite matryoshka doll? Protection of the undead monarch. Just how broken was this talent? Zhan even suspected that he was the illegitimate son of the undead monarch. Chapter 80. Death Assassin. Zhan's mind moved. The skeleton mage in front of him began to wave its skeleton staff. A moment later, another figure appeared. It was still a skeleton, covered in some armor, holding a knife in his left hand and a shield in his right. This was the skeleton guard summoned by the skeleton mage. Unfortunately, Zhan couldn't see its attributes, so he couldn't get the enhancement. Otherwise, but this thing was obviously stronger than the skeleton soldier he had summoned. So, let's continue. Without saying much, let's fill up these 35 undead first. The third, Elite Undead Ghost Knight. The fourth, Normal Undead Ghoul. The fifth, Normal Undead Skeleton Archer. The sixth, Normal Undead Wraith. He had summoned 20 and didn't even get a single Brave grade, and the probability of summoning Elite grade wasn't high either. Including the Skeleton Mage, there were only 7 of them. Zhan was about to curse. He had even imagined at the beginning that he would gather 35 Brave grade undead. At that time, he'd slay a dragon if it came. Now it seemed that he was too naive. This was simply a fantasy. Zhan took a deep breath and prayed sincerely. Undead Monarch, you damn well protect me. Then, he activated the undead summon skill again. The next second, an extremely rich death aura spread out, and Zhan's eyes suddenly lit up. He didn't expect the prayer to be really effective. A big one had finally come. This appearance wasn't an ordinary product at all. A moment later, a figure appeared in front of Zhan. This was a human-shaped creature, but it was extremely strange, as if a block of black mud had been forcibly formed into a human. It had hands, feet, and a head, but no facial features. In short, it had no other color except black. Zhan almost couldn't see its existence. This thing was holding a similarly black dagger in its hand. It looked like an assassin-type undead. That was indeed the case. Death Assassin. Characteristics: Brave grade undead. Strength: 148. Physique: 103. Agility: 203. Skills: Fatal Strike, Backstab Assault, Death Erosion. So strong. Zhan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The agility of more than 200 was even higher than number one's. The physique was a bit lower. But this thing was taking the assassin route, so that was normal. From now on, you are number 2. Zhan gave a satisfied smile and patted the Death Assassin on the shoulder. This guy was good, and he was going to train him well. If he performed well, it wouldn't be impossible to give Lothar's edge to him. At that time, number 1 would be the main attacker, and number 2 would be the main assassin. One in the open and one in the dark. It was simply perfect. But just then, the Death Assassin made a strange sound while kneeling on one knee. Huh. Zhan was a little surprised. Could this guy have consciousness? He had just tried to communicate with the skeleton mage and found that the other party, like those reincarnated undead, would only unconditionally execute his orders. In other words, undead above the Brave grade would have consciousness? Would this thing devour its master? Zhan's mind moved. Number 2's dagger stabbed directly at him without any hesitation. Stop. The dagger stopped directly at number 2's head. It seemed that it was still trustworthy. Then, Zhan started praying again. Undead Monarch, you protect me. Undead Summon activated. A skeleton soldier appeared in Zhan's highly anticipated eyes. I'll go to your Undead Monarch, you son of a bitch. Zhan cursed directly. 10 minutes later, Zhan summoned his 35th undead, an elite grade skeleton knight. This thing looked pretty impressive, riding a skeleton horse and holding a skeleton sword in his hand. 35 undead. Only the death assassin was brave grade. There were also 10 elite grade and 24 normal grade. In fact, his spirit had reached more than 100 under the undead's buffs, and he could summon a few more. But this blind box-like summons was too tormenting. Zhan really couldn't stand it. With the 35 summoned undead plus the 33 reincarnated undead, under the buffs of a full 68 undead, his strength, physique, and agility had all approached the 400 mark, and even his intelligence had reached 100. He was finally no longer a mentally challenged mage. He could be said to be a well-rounded person, a true hexagon warrior. This strength was enough to run rampant at the current stage. As for the others, he could summon them slowly later. One day, he would replace all of his undead with brave grade ones. At that time, he would be invincible. Zhan, full of anticipation for the future, shouted directly. Trial continue. Rumble. The door leading to the 10th floor of the Tower of Trials finally opened. Zhan still summoned the undead tiger demon. Then, with a thought, he activated the skill eye of the undead. In an instant, his consciousness seemed to be attached to the undead tiger demon's body. This feeling was a little strange, as if Zhan was controlling his own body and the undead tiger demon's body at the same time. It was quite uncomfortable, but it would be better with more practice. In the future, he could even try to get the perspectives of multiple undead. For example, those 4 griffins. This would be equivalent to opening a full map cheat. Reconnaissance would be invincible. The undead tiger demon walked up the stairs step by step and then stepped out of the door. In front of Zhan, a desert appeared directly. And in the center of the desert, a huge monster was entrenched. This guy was like a huge scorpion, and its body was covered with scales. However, its head was like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The name of this thing instantly appeared in Zhan's mind. Desert Dragon Scorpion. It was said that this thing had the blood of the dragon race, so it could be called a subdragon. Most importantly, this thing was just a normal monster. The pressure it put on Zhan was even greater than 10 brave grade monsters. Zhan had heard that there would be a boss-level monster sitting every 10 floors of the Tower of Trials. He didn't expect it to be true. If he had come in before advancing to the undead dominator, he might have really had to explain himself here. Taking a deep breath, Zhan withdrew the eye of the undead and walked into the desert in person. This desert dragon scorpion carried a trace of noble dragon blood, so it naturally disdained doing sneaky things like ambushes. Waiting for Zhan to appear, this guy suddenly let out an angry roar. In an instant, this roar actually formed a violent sandstorm, sweeping towards Zhan. Good lord, the big killer move was here. Then let's have a big fight. Zhan directly put all the undead, including number 1, back into the undead space, then took out his sword and went straight towards the sandstorm. Dodge? Dodge my ass. A man should face the storm head-on. In an instant, Zhan had already rushed into the sandstorm. The violent sand was like countless sharp blades, scraping his body, but it didn't cause any damage at all. The next second, Zhan had directly passed through the sandstorm and rushed towards the desert dragon scorpion. Chapter 81. Unbearable Humiliation. Zhan's speed was unbelievably fast. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the desert dragon scorpion, and he slashed out with his sword. The result? A crisp crack. The sword broke clean in half, and the desert dragon scorpion's stinger was already coming down on him hard. That thing was laced with potent venom, and even with Zhan's physique, a sting would definitely be unpleasant. Zhan tossed away the broken sword without hesitation. Then, with a leap, he jumped onto the back of the desert dragon scorpion and slammed a fist into its back. Roar! The desert dragon scorpion shuddered all over, and its stinger whipped around again, attacking Zhan. Zhan barely managed to jump up, dodging the stinger. Suddenly, one of the scorpion's giant pincers was right in front of him. With no other choice, Zhan had to dodge again. But then the other pincer came sweeping in. 2 giant pincers, plus a stinger, were launching a furious assault on Zhan. They were so fast that they left afterimages in the air. But if it was fast, Zhan was faster. He dodged left and right on its back, and the desert dragon scorpion couldn't touch him at all. After 5 seconds, The desert dragon scorpion started getting impatient. It shuddered, let out an angry roar, and hundreds of small scorpions crawled out of the surrounding sand. These small scorpions swarmed onto the big dragon scorpion's back, surging towards Zhan. "So you're the kind who calls for backup, huh?" Zhan snorted coldly. He'd originally wanted to see if he could take the thing down by himself, but since it wasn't going to play fair, time for a gang fight. Zhan waved his hand. All 34 of his elite and ordinary undead were summoned. They were just summoned creatures anyway. They weren't worth much. If they died, they died. The undead and the scorpions clashed directly on the desert dragon scorpion's back. The result: waves of ordinary undead were instantly wiped out. Every single one of the little scorpions summoned by the desert dragon scorpion was elite level. Hundreds of elite level opponents. Anyone else would have been scared shitless. But Zhan wasn't just anyone. The more enemies, the stronger he became. The more excited he got. Perfect. This is just what I need to purify my undead. Zhan leaped off its back and summoned his two great generals, number 1 and number 2. Number 1, wielding the blazing demon axe, charged straight ahead. He leaped high into the air and slammed the axe down on the dragon scorpion's back, sending sparks flying. The explosive damage instantly killed nearly 10 scorpions. The desert dragon scorpion was furious. It swung its pincers at number 1, but the next second, it suddenly felt a sharp, intense pain in its chrysanthemum, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. It turned out that number 2 had somehow gotten behind the dragon scorpion and was stabbing wildly at its rear with his daggers. Backstab assault. Zhan's eyes lit up. That was a ridiculously powerful skill. Even he hadn't seen it clearly. Number 2's figure had just flashed, and then he was behind the dragon scorpion. Right now, the dragon scorpion was preoccupied with dealing with 2 valiant-level undead, giving it no time to worry about Zhan. Zhan simply sat down on the sand and started summoning undead. First one, skeleton grunt. Alright, go die for me. Second one, skeleton grunt. Third one, skeleton grunt. What the fuck? Zhan, feeling utterly humiliated, exploded with anger. He stood up, took out his phone, opened the auction house, and spent a hefty sum to buy a blue-grade sword. Then, he charged towards the desert dragon scorpion. "So you're the desert dragon scorpion, huh?" Zhan slashed the sword across its back, cursing. "I've got such terrible luck. It's all your fault, you thing. Why'd you have to grow so big? Why'd you have to be so ugly? Dragon? Being a dragon means you're hot stuff? I'll fucking kill you." He was truly furious. It gave him ordinary undead, fine. But giving him the weakest skeleton grunts? That was an insult. Zhan even felt like just cutting it wasn't enough. He learned the Warcry skill he just acquired and roared. At the same time, he activated the Werewolf Necklace's skill, giving all his undead minions a full buff. Then, he issued an order to number 1. Number 1, go berserk. Kill it. The next second, number 1 went berserk, swinging his axe even harder, faster, and more fiercely. As for number 2, he didn't even need Zhan to tell him what to do. Every one of his attacks was at an extremely precise angle, and he retreated after each strike, giving the dragon scorpion no chance to retaliate. The desert dragon scorpion frantically twisted its body, using every attack method it could. But it was useless. All 3 of them had too much agility. After being buffed, they jumped and darted around so much that it couldn't catch them. Roar, roar, roar. That was the desert dragon scorpion's roar at the beginning. Woo, woo, woo. That was the desert dragon scorpion's cry 10 seconds later. Thump. That was the sound of the desert dragon scorpion collapsing to the ground. The system's voice rang out in a timely manner. Congratulations, 10th level challenge completed. Ding, please wait. The system will issue the reward that is most suitable for you. Huh. The most suitable reward? There was such a thing? Zhan was a little surprised. He hadn't expected the 10th level's reward to be like this. What was the reward that was most suitable for him? To be honest, even he didn't know what he needed most. After waiting for a while, the system's voice finally rang out. Ding, congratulations on obtaining a fragment of Deathwing. Ding, due to your insufficient level, you cannot continue the trial. Ding, please be prepared. You will leave the trial tower. Welcome to visit again. 3 system notifications in a row. But for Lu Zhan, none of them were good news. He never imagined that the reward would be something like this. A fragment of Deathwing. Was that thing valuable? It had to be valuable. Deathwing, as far as he could tell, was most likely a top-tier gold-grade divine item. But giving him a fragment was completely useless. The worst part was that the trial tower was just cutting him off right there. With his current strength, he probably could have gone up several more floors. Ever since he'd changed classes to Undead Dominator, his luck had been absolutely terrible. Could it be that the heavens sensed his strength was too great and were intentionally targeting him? He wasn't just letting his imagination run wild. It was entirely possible that there were special forces at play that were balancing things out. Otherwise, why hadn't those powerful royal-level demonic creatures come down at the start of the apocalypse? They could have just wiped out everyone. If that force could restrain the demon race, restraining him wasn't impossible. Just as Lu Zhan was pondering, he suddenly felt a darkness descend before his eyes. When his vision returned, he was outside, and the trial tower had disappeared without a trace. Lu brother, you finally came out? When Zhang Tianfu saw Lu Zhan, tears almost fell. He saw that Bei Lao He, Old Black, was lying flat on the ground, and Zhang Tianfu and Wang Yi were on either side, massaging and grooming him. This situation had been going on for almost an hour, and Zhang Tianfu's hands were about to go numb. But no matter how long they waited, Lu brother just wouldn't come out. Later, even the dungeon entrance disappeared, but Lu brother still hadn't come out. He even began to suspect that Lu brother had died. But Bei Lao He didn't speak, and they didn't dare to move, so they could only continue waiting and massaging this old dog. After waiting for ages, Lu Zhan finally came out. But the moment Zhang Tianfu saw Lu brother's expression, his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. In that moment, he seemed to see death. Chapter 82. Getting Revenge. Woof 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 woof. You finally came out. I was about to run out of power waiting. Bei Lao He said listlessly. He was so bored that he had finished eating those nasty black-skinned dog corpses. Old black dog, do you dare go find that big tiger and get revenge? Lu Zhan only felt a surge of resentment in his heart. In his previous life, he was weak and cautious, living a stifled life. In this life, he was several times stronger, but he always felt like the whole world was targeting him. From the elven curse at the beginning to the Night Emperor, then to the sacred curse, and now even luck, that ethereal and intangible thing, seemed to be targeting him. Since that was the case, he just had to make a big splash. See what else could come and target him. That big tiger. Bei Lao He did a flip and stood up straight, his eyes full of fighting spirit. Woof 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 woof. Fight. Fight. Kill it. All right, let's go. Lu Zhan directly mounted the dog and patted his butt. Let's go back to town first. He wasn't going to be reckless and just go find that big tiger now. His strength had improved rapidly during this time. But that thunder tiger god wasn't to be trifled with. He must have also changed a lot. If he wanted to go find that guy trouble, he had to be fully prepared. Although he hadn't been injured in the trial tower, his energy was greatly depleted. He had to at least adjust his mental state. Although he wanted to make a big splash, he didn't want to die. Early the next morning, outside Little King Town, Lu Zhan rode Bei Lao He, walking step by step away from the little town, with Zhang Tianfu following beside him. Lu brother, do you really have to leave? Zhao Ling mustered her courage and shouted at Lu Zhan's back. Beside her, the Wang Ming father and son pair, compared to before, already faintly had the aura of strong men. And she, Zhao Ling, had become the undisputed boss of the town, her prestige unmatched. All of this was given to her by Lu Zhan. Behind her stood all the survivors of the town. They were grateful to Lu Zhan on the one hand, and hoped that Lu Zhan could stay on the other. Although Lu Zhan often came and went mysteriously these days, they still had to rely on themselves to protect the village most of the time. But having such a strong man around always made people feel at ease. What's more, Wang Yi, who followed Lu Zhan, would occasionally bring back some good things. Those things were all dropped from killing demonic creatures, and they were trashed to Lu Zhan, so he simply let Wang Yi bring them back. Fight hard, everyone. In the apocalypse, no one can be relied on but yourself. Only strength is the foundation of survival. Lu Zhan didn't turn around and said directly, the world is vast, and we were fortunate to meet. If fate allows, we'll meet again." After speaking, he directly had Bei Lao He pick up Zhang Tianfu and run away. With his current bad luck, he couldn't let go of this heavenly fortune general. Although he didn't know if it would work, it could at least neutralize some of the bad luck. Donghai City. The current Donghai had undergone tremendous changes compared to the beginning of the apocalypse, and it had even somewhat restored the human order of the pre-apocalypse. Around the city, high city walls had been built, and people patrolled the walls 24 hours a day. There was only one gate in the entire city, and all humans had to enter and exit through this gate. This Donghai City wasn't like a modern city, but more like an ancient city. This transformation was naturally for better defense against demonic creatures. After all, the city was so large that it was impossible to arrange a large number of personnel in all directions, and these city walls could at least play a buffering role. If it were before the apocalypse, it would naturally have been impossible to build a city into this state in such a short period of time. But with the architect profession, everything became possible. The abilities of various life professions were now being developed and valued. At this moment, not far away, a large truck was rushing towards Donghai City. The back of the truck was piled with the corpses of demonic creatures, including 2 valiant level 1s. And inside the car sat a team of 4 people. "Teacher Liu, these 2 trucks should be enough for the brothers' protection fee for a week, right?" A young man in the driver's seat said excitedly. Although the apocalypse had passed for a while, he was still used to calling the boss Teacher Liu. "Almost. Take a good rest these few days. Everyone has worked hard." On the back seat, Liu Yong nodded and said. At this moment, compared to before he separated from Liu Zhan, his entire temperament had changed greatly. He was much more stable and mature. His strength had naturally also improved by leaps and bounds, and he had already successfully advanced to Berserker. Next to him, the former priest, Xiao Yao, leaned against his shoulder, her face full of happiness and sweetness. That's right. Liu Yong not only tricked this little girl into becoming the team's full-time blood bag, but also cheated her of her virginity. Of course, Liu Yong's character was trustworthy, and he really loved Xiao Yao. "Brother Liu, let's have a baby." Suddenly, Xiao Yao looked at Liu Yong and said with a look of longing. Since falling in love with this man, she wanted to experience everything with him. But Liu Yong shook his head. "In this apocalypse, we could die at any time. We don't have the right to have children. Isn't it precisely because we could die at any time that we should have one while we're still alive? That way we won't have any regrets." "Xiao Yao, that's too selfish. Have you ever thought about the future child? Would he be happy to be born in this apocalypse?" At this time, the 2 students in the front row also persuaded. "Teacher Liu have one. With your strength, can't you protect him? Besides, there's us too." "Yeah, children represent new life. What a good meaning. Maybe the apocalypse will end soon, and this world will usher in new life." But Liu Yong frowned and said sternly, "Don't say any more." At this moment, he already had the aura of a leader. When he spoke more sternly, the others naturally didn't dare to say more. But at this moment, someone suddenly sighed. "I wonder how Liu brother is doing." As soon as these words came out, the car fell silent. They had their current strength. It could be said that 80% of it was given by Liu Zhan. "Who is Liu brother? He must be doing better than us now," Liu Yong said with a smile. But as he said that, he couldn't help but feel worried. Liu Zhan was strong, but that big tiger's strength was too terrifying. Even the current Liu Yong couldn't help but feel fear every time he saw that big tiger. But there was nothing he could do about it, and Liu Yong could only change the subject. "All right, we're about to enter the city. I'll pay the protection fee later, and you guys take 2 elite-level corpses back and let the chef cook them to see if he can make something good." But as soon as he finished speaking, the truck suddenly braked hard, and Xiao Yao, who was leaning next to Liu Yong, almost flew out. Fortunately, she was caught by Liu Yong. "Xiao Zhou, what are you doing?" No. Teacher Liu, why you look at that person?" The driver, Xiao Zhou, pointed ahead, as if he had seen a ghost. Chapter 83, Mutual Aid Society. At the city gate, "Liu brother, I didn't expect the changes to be so big in just a few days." Zhang Tianfu looked at the towering city walls with disbelief. This thing couldn't be explained by science at all. Liu Zhan didn't speak, and he felt a bit emotional for a moment. Everything seemed the same as in his previous life. He had even been a guard at this city gate for a while. The real strong men naturally went out to kill demonic creatures and earn gold coins. But someone like him, a weakling, could only do security work to earn a meager living allowance. The apocalypse had changed a lot, but there were also many things that hadn't changed, such as the social classes of humanity. Don't look at how easy it was for Zhan to earn gold coins now, easily tens of thousands. But most people had a very difficult time earning even a single gold coin. Woof woof woof. Why did you have to make me so small? I'm not convinced. Next to Zhan, a small dog barked several times. It was Bei Lao He. Since eating the ogre heart, he had gained the ability to change size at will. Of course, Bei Lao He liked to be big, but he didn't like to be small. But Zhan insisted on making him small at the moment, so he was naturally extremely dissatisfied. Isn't it cute being small? Zhan simply ignored him and walked towards the city gate, and Zhang Tianfu naturally hurried to keep up. This time returning to Donghai, he wasn't just going to find that big tiger to get revenge, but also had some grudges he wanted to settle. In his previous life, there were quite a few people who had bullied him, although those people might not even know who Zhan was in this life. But who cared? He'd take revenge for the grudges of his previous life in this life. Was there a problem with that? With his current strength, Zhan wasn't satisfied with just surviving, but also wanted to live happily, to live as he pleased. Stop, please show your ID to enter the city. But at this moment, 2 guards at the city gate stopped them. No ID. Zhan said calmly. Without an ID, you need to pay a 100 gold coin protection fee to enter the city, and after entering the city, please apply for an ID as soon as possible. A trace of greed flashed in the guard's eyes as he spoke. 100 gold coins? Isn't it 50? Zhan frowned. He had stood in this position before, and if he remembered correctly, the protection fee to enter the city had always been 50 gold coins. This was jointly designated by the major forces in the city and had never changed. Stop talking nonsense. I said 100 is 100. If you don't have gold coins, then scram. The guard was rude and spoke without respect. But the next second, a flash of blood passed, and the guard had already closed his mouth forever. If the other party honestly charged 50 gold coins, Zhan naturally wouldn't make things difficult for them, and he'd just pay it. But he didn't expect this guy to want to extort him. He was simply courting death. Zhang Tianfu's expression didn't change at all. He naturally knew Lu brothers' temper very well. Killing someone was nothing. The other guard was frightened by this scene. The most important thing was that he couldn't even see how he had attacked, which meant that the other party's strength was far beyond his imagination. Do you also want 100 gold coins? Zhan looked at him and asked calmly. No need. You please come in. The guard said tremblingly. He wanted to shout, to inform the brothers in the city, but he didn't dare. With the other party's speed just now, by the time he finished calling for help, he'd be down there with his brother. Lu brother, it's really you. Just then, a voice of incomparable surprise rang out not far away. Zhan raised his eyebrows slightly. He already knew who it was just by listening to the voice. He turned his head and, sure enough, it was him. He couldn't help but smile. Lu Yong, how have you been lately? In this apocalypse, he could say that he didn't have any friends. Zhang Tianfu was more of a mascot. If he had to say, Lu Yong could indeed be considered one. On the truck, all 5 of Lu Yong's people jumped down and ran over with extremely excited expressions. Boss. Xiao Yao's face was flushed, and she always felt like she was a traitor when she saw Zhang Tianfu, and she had even sold her body. Xiao Yao, you're doing well. Zhang Tianfu was also a veteran, and he could tell at a glance the subtle relationship between Xiao Yao and Lu Yong. Lu brother, you're back? Lu Yong stood in front of Zhan, his face flushed, and he was so excited that he couldn't control himself. From the initial dormitory building to the dungeon, it could be said that Zhan had been leading him all the way. Calling him a second parent wasn't an exaggeration. Lu boss, I was wrong. It was all Zhang Han's idea. I didn't do anything. The guard on the side suddenly knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly to beg for mercy. Lu Yong frowned, and only then did he see the corpse lying on the ground, and he quickly realized what had happened. It was clear that this guard had offended Zhan. This guy said he wanted to charge 100 gold coins to enter the city. Zhang Tianfu said with a smile. This kind of thing definitely couldn't be said by Lu Zhan himself. It would be beneath his dignity, so it had to be said by his little brother. The rules set 30, and you're charging 100? Good job, you're good at this. Lu Yong snorted coldly and broke off his own arm. The guard gritted his teeth, but in order to survive, he still decisively cut off one of his arms with a knife. Thank you, Lu boss, for not killing me. Scram, take your own hand and this corpse away, and replace them with another group of people. The guard directly bit his own severed hand with his teeth, and then dragged the corpse away with his other hand, quickly leaving. Lu Yong then said with incomparable guilt, Lu brother, I'm sorry, I made you lose face as soon as you came back. Hee, it's nothing. Lu Zhan naturally wouldn't get angry because of this little thing. You're doing well. You've become Lu boss. It seemed that because of him, some changes had occurred in this future. Just like this city entry protection fee, which was 50 in his previous life, and now Lu Yong said it was 30, it was very likely because of his existence. This guy had always been a saint, and charging less was very in line with his style. However, to be able to influence the collection of this protection fee, Lu Yong's status in the city was obviously not ordinary. How could that be, Lu brother? You can just call me Xiao Lu. Lu Yong said. Let's go, Lu brother. Let's enter the city. We just killed a valiant-level demonic creature, so we'll kill it and give you a welcome reception. Teacher Lu, that's... The student behind him quickly said. It's okay. We'll just go kill a few more in a few days. Lu Yong waved his hand and said, Xiao Zhou, go drive the car, drive back to the base first. We'll walk back and show Lu brother around. All right, Teacher Lu. Xiao Zhou nodded helplessly and turned to jump into the car. Going out and killing a few more. It sounded easy. They prepared for death every time they went out. Lu Zhan walked into the city gate, and everything inside was the same as in his previous life, with a strong apocalyptic wasteland style. How many forces are there in this city now? Lu Zhan didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. Lu brother, how do you know about this? Lu Yong was a little surprised, but he quickly answered. In terms of human forces, there are mainly 4, occupying the east, south, west, and north positions in the city respectively. Our mutual aid society is located in the south of the city. Chapter 84, Conflict. Mutual Aid Society? Lu Zhan was taken aback. What a plain and uninspired name. Yeah, it's all about helping each other. I'm just a gym teacher, not exactly a scholar, Lu Yong said, without the slightest hint of embarrassment. He'd been ridiculed for the name countless times. He was used to it. Many people had urged him to change it, but Lu Yong stubbornly refused, because he was the boss. Then there's the Black Dragon Society in the north, the Broadsword Gang in the west, and the War God Hall in the east, Lu Yong continued, leading the way towards his territory. Right now, the 4 of us manage Donghai City together, trying to maintain some semblance of order. Lu Zhan nodded. The other 3 factions were exactly as he remembered from his previous life, meaning Lu Yong's Mutual Aid Society had replaced someone else. He cut straight to the point. What about the central area? The central area? Lu Yong hesitated, as if reluctant to speak. The center belongs to the mutated beasts. Lu Ge, to be honest, it might look like the 4 of us are running this city, but we're not really in charge. The real masters are those mutated beasts. We're just living under their roof, so to speak. Without them, we'd have been overrun by monsters long ago. Especially Tiger God. That big tiger, it's terrifying. Last time, nearly a dozen warrior-level monsters attacked the city, and that big tiger wiped them all out in seconds. As he spoke, Lu Yong stole a glance at Lu Zhan. Wasn't Lu Zhan driven out of here by that very tiger? Hearing this, Lu Zhan fell silent. It was all just like his previous life. Thunder Tiger God was the true ruler of the city. It only allowed humans to live here because they simply weren't appetizing. And that big tiger had established rules. Humans couldn't enter the central area of the city without permission. Humans had to provide it with a large amount of monster meat every week. And if it got bored, it would grab a few humans to play with. It would also randomly release electricity, not caring if anyone got killed by it. Once upon a time, those animals were locked up in zoos, merely toys for humans to observe. But now, humans had to grovel at the feet of these animals. The sense of disparity was unimaginable. But what could they do? At least the city was a relatively safe place. It was almost like an ancient dynasty, except the emperor was a tiger, and a rather brutal tyrant at that. Of course, Zhan was just feeling nostalgic. He had no interest in overthrowing the tyrant. He was looking for that tiger purely for personal revenge. Those things you just drag back, are those for the big tiger as tribute? That's right, Lugu. The big tiger stipulates that each faction must provide 2 warrior-level monster corpses every week. Okay, I'll reimburse you for one later, Zhan said casually. A warrior-level monster was nothing to him. Lu, you're quite the big shot. A highly arrogant voice suddenly rang out from a distance. A large group of people was approaching, all armed with weapons and clearly up to no good. At the forefront was a burly figure, bare-chested, revealing incredibly solid muscles. In his hand, he carried a person as if they were a mere chicken. The person he was carrying was covered in blood, limp and motionless, and it was impossible to tell if they were dead or alive. Xiaojiang. Beside Lu Yong, Xiaoyao exclaimed in alarm, looking tense. Of the students Lu Yong had led out, 3 had survived the city defense dungeon and had become core members of the Mutual Aid Society. Lu Yong always left one behind in the city as a figurehead while he was out. And the bloodied person was one of them, Jiang Cheng. Lu Yong clenched his fists, staring intensely at the approaching man. Hanjiang, what do you want? The man was Hanjiang, the boss of the Black Dragon Society in the north. He and Lu Yong had always been at odds. Hanjiang was a typical nouveau riche. He'd gotten lucky during the apocalypse, acquired a hidden class, and clawed his way to the top. Now, all he wanted was to lord it over everyone, implementing a series of outrageously unfair policies. For example, any girl under the age of 20 had to undergo a personal inspection by him before entering the city. Everyone in the city had to pay a protection fee to enter, in addition to paying 10 gold coins daily. If they didn't have the money, they were kicked out. He was essentially no different from the big tiger, except he was much weaker. But Lu Yong? He was the ultimate do-gooder. He couldn't possibly allow such policies to be implemented in the city. Plus, his strength suppressed Hanjiang. Under these circumstances, how could Hanjiang not hate him? This time, he was seizing the opportunity to eliminate Lu Yong. He threw Jiang Cheng onto the ground, a look of anger on his face. Flu, how do you manage your subordinates? This guy had the nerve to come to my territory and harass my woman. I caught him red-handed. Lu, how do you want to handle this? You tell me. On the ground, Jiang Cheng struggled slightly, opening his mouth but unable to make a sound. Upon closer inspection, it could be seen that his tongue had been completely cut off. Seeing this, Lu Yong's heart broke. For the first time, this selfless man felt an overwhelming urge to kill. That's a load of bull. Su Cheng roared. He was one of the other 3 students, and he knew Jiang Cheng very well. There was no way he would harass a woman, especially the woman of a rival gang leader. Frankly, the clumsy slander was so obvious that even Lu Zhan found it hard to watch. Lu Yong's face was like frost. In an instant, many things became clear. He shouted, Su Dong, Deng Mingliang, are you 2 still not coming out? If you don't show yourselves, I'm going to kill Hanjiang. Su Dong and Deng Mingliang were the bosses of the Broadsword Gang and the War God Hall, respectively. Without their support, Hanjiang would never have dared to cause him this much trouble. Haha Lu, Han asked us to come and uphold justice. 2 more groups of people emerged from the shadows. Initially, they had planned to wait until a fight broke out before rushing in to catch Lu Yong off guard. But now that Lu Yong had called them out, hiding would be too shameless. What could they do? In this doomsday, people like Lu Yong are bound to hinder the interests of many. Of the 4 powers in Donghai, the other 3 had long been dissatisfied with this mutual aid society. Mutual aid, what the hell? In this doomsday society, the strong should enjoy more, and the weak should obediently submit unconditionally. This mutual aid society even promoted something like equality for all, which was just plain stupid. The 3 bosses had approached Lu Yong countless times, but this guy was stubborn, insisting on being this damned saint. In that case, they might as well kick him out. After all, the big tiger didn't care who managed the city for it. Chapter 85. Past grievances, present retribution. Come on, all 3 of you. Come at me, Lu Yong said, raising his giant sword. He no longer wanted to argue. When these three decided to kill him, they could find a million reasons. In that case, let the battle begin. Lu, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to demand justice, Han Jiang said directly. He didn't dare to fight Lu Yong. It might look like it was 3 against 1, but those two were also harboring ulterior motives. And Lu Yong would definitely focus on killing him, and it was likely that he and Lu Yong would die together, while the other two reaped the benefits. How about this, Lu? I won't make things difficult for you. You and your people leave Donghai City. How about it? After all, his goal was just to kick Lu Yong out of the picture, so he wouldn't interfere with his plans to exploit. Whether he killed him or not was irrelevant. Give me back Jiang Cheng, and I'll leave. At that moment, Lu Yong felt a sense of profound despair. He considered saving the world as his mission. He could kill monsters and mutated beasts, but he didn't know how to save human hearts. Okay, have your woman come over and take him back, Han Jiang said, nodding. You're courting death. Lu Yong's aura exploded, and the giant sword in his hand emitted a bloody glow. Sending Xiao Yao over would just mean sending another hostage. Hee hee, your underling harassed my woman. Have your woman come over and let me touch her, and we'll call it even, Han Jiang said, reaching out with a pinching motion, his face full of lewdness. Don't worry, I promise I'll just touch and not do. Before Han Jiang could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a blur before his eyes, and someone was standing in front of him. That face was so mocking, as if looking at a clown. You bastard! Just as Han Jiang was about to curse, he felt his vision suddenly plummet, followed by a sharp pain in his head. The next second, a foot landed directly on his head, and a cold voice said, You got my shoe dirty. Lick it clean. Lu Zhan looked at the angry, panicked, and humiliated face on the ground, his heart filled with the joy of revenge. In his previous life, the roles were reversed. He was the one being trampled underfoot, all because he ran a little faster and accidentally stepped in a puddle, splashing water on Han Jiang's shoe. He still remembered that feeling of humiliation clearly. He would never forget this face. Admittedly, it was pretty satisfying to trample this face underfoot. This scene completely took everyone by surprise, and they froze on the spot, unsure how to react. Han Jiang's face turned from red to white. He wanted to resist, but he felt as if the foot weighed 10,000 pounds, and he couldn't move at all. Only then did he realize that the owner of this foot was far stronger than he imagined. Trembling, he said, big brother, if you don't let me go, how can I lick? To survive, he could completely abandon his dignity. However, no sooner had he spoken than Lu Zhan exerted his strength. With a smack, the head under his foot exploded, splattering brains and blood everywhere. Lu Zhan raised an eyebrow slightly. Just now, he had received a system notification. He had received 100,000 gold coins. Suddenly, his interest in revenge was even greater. He had several enemies. He remembered each and every one of their faces clearly. Han Jiang's underlings were completely dumbfounded. What had happened? Their boss was dead just like that? Lu Yong hurried over, picked up Jiang Cheng, and said to Lu Zhan gratefully, Thank you, Lu Go. He naturally didn't know that Lu Zhan had killed Han Jiang just for revenge. Finally, someone reacted and started screaming. Han Jiang's underlings scattered in all directions, with no intention of avenging their boss. Su Dong and Deng Mingliang, the two other bosses, no longer had any thought of staying to get a piece of the action, and they quickly ordered their underlings to flee. The strength Lu Zhan had displayed was too terrifying, so terrifying that they had no intention of fighting at all. Lu Zhan didn't say anything, but summoned number 1 and number 2. Then, with a thought, number 1 and number 2 rushed towards the scattered crowd. The speed of these two undead was like teleportation in the eyes of this group of people, and no one could escape. A moment later, one person was thrown directly over, landing right in front of Lu Zhan. Then, there was a second, a third, a fourth. In less than 3 minutes, a dozen people were piled up in front of Lu Zhan, including Su Dong and Deng Mingliang. A group of people squatted on the ground, afraid to move. Han Jiang's headless corpse was right next to them, and they didn't want to follow in his footsteps. On Lu Yong's side, Xiao Yao had already cast several healing spells, at least saving Jiang Cheng's life for now. Later recovery wouldn't be a problem. In this game world, anything was possible. If organs were missing, they could grow back. Lu Gu, you're so strong. Su Chang's eyes widened, completely losing his ability to think. Hee, this is nothing. Lu Gu hasn't even used 1% of his strength, Zhang Tianfu said with an air of pride. He's the most qualified to speak in the world. He was Lu Ji's personally appointed #1 lackey. Naturally, that gave him a lot of face. Boss, what's happened to you these days? Tell us about it, Xiao Yao said with a look of longing. There's a lot to tell. Let me start by telling you about Lu Ji's battle with the Berserk gorilla. Zhang Tianfu became excited and started to ramble. Lu Zhan turned to the crowd on the ground and said, "Get down on your knees, all of you. Kneel in a row." The people on the ground glanced at the pitch-black #2 on the left, then at the armored #1 on the right, and finally at Lu Zhan, who still had brains on his feet. They quickly acted, kneeling down in a row, with exactly 15 people. "Do you recognize me?" Lu Zhan asked directly, like an emperor surveying his domain. The 15 people looked at each other, realizing that they had no impression of Lu Zhan's face at all, let alone recognized him, and felt extremely wronged. There were so many people. Why had they grabbed these 15? It doesn't matter if you don't recognize me, as long as I recognize you. You, Hu Wei, once robbed me of a piece of green equipment. Looking at the faces he once hated with gnashing teeth, Lu Zhan began to enumerate their crimes one by one. Lu Zhan was a reasonable person who would not kill indiscriminately. If he was going to kill someone, he had to let them know why he was killing them. Among them were those who had robbed him, those who had insulted his character, those who had hurt him, those who had cheated him. He remembered them all clearly. He just happened to be this vengeful. Listening to Lu Zhan's words, the 15 people were even more confused, but the other party was too strong, and they didn't dare to refute. For a time, they felt as if they had no place to appeal their grievances. Chapter 86. You are the only boss. Lu Zhan spoke for a full 3 minutes, finally finishing the story of how these people had bullied him. Among them, the war god hall boss Deng Mingliang seemed to have nothing to do with him. But this guy wanted to kill Lu Yong, who was acting as a saint, so he must not be a good thing either, and Lu Zhan didn't mind taking care of him as well. Big brother, I didn't do what you said. Someone finally mustered the courage to try to plead his case. But as soon as he finished speaking, he felt his head fall from his neck. Damn, you dare to question me. Lu Zhan wiped the blood from his sword and said coldly. This made the remaining 14 people's faces pale, and they didn't dare to make any sound. As a result, Lu Zhan swung his sword again, and another person's head fell to the ground. Damn, no one is refuting. Are you looking down on me? Finally, these people realized that no matter what they did, they would die. Since that was the case, they might as well fight. Screw your mother. Deng Mingliang roared, and the clothes on his body all burst open, and black hair quickly grew from the surface of his skin. His profession was a hidden profession, druid. The skill beast form bear allowed him to transform into a humanoid bear. He didn't believe he wouldn't be able to fight. As a result, the next second, an axe was chopped down on his head. With a boom, Deng Mingliang, who hadn't finished transforming, exploded, splattering the 2 people next to him, who rolled their eyes and fainted directly from fear. So boring. With a wave of his hand, Lu Zhan had the remaining dozen people instantly submerged in the slaughter of #1 and #2. He had had his fun, and there was no need to waste too much time on these trash. Zhang Tianfu, who was still enthusiastically performing, quickly shut up when he saw Lu Zhan walking back. From now on, you will be the only boss in Donghai, Lu Zhan said, ignoring Zhang Tianfu and patting Lu Yong on the shoulder. This? Lu Yong hesitated. He might be a saint, but he wasn't brainless. Although Lu Zhan's brutality made him uncomfortable, he was more grateful. In his opinion, Lu Zhan did this entirely to clear the way for him. But after this incident, Lu Yong suddenly felt that he might not be suitable to be a boss at all. He wanted to take Xiao Yao and a few brothers and leave, roaming around, killing monsters, and saving people, and there wouldn't be so many messy things. In other words, he felt he was more suitable to be a saintly knight than a saintly city lord. Lu Zhan saw the other party's hesitation and didn't force it, saying directly, think about it carefully. Lu, as a student, I'll give you a piece of advice. In troubled times, kindness cannot save the world. After saying that, he left with #1 and #2, heading towards the central area of the city. Next to him, Bei Laohei's body was constantly growing. Zhang Tianfu quickly followed. Seeing the direction Lu Zhan was heading, Lu Yong suddenly woke up from his reverie and shouted anxiously, "Lu Gu, you can't go there. That's the big tiger's territory." Lu Zhan didn't turn around and said directly, "I told you, from now on, you will be the only boss in Donghai. Wait at home. When I get back, I'll treat you to tiger's penis. I've eaten it. It's very nourishing." It was until this moment that Lu Yong realized that Lu Zhan had come back to take revenge on the big tiger. Thinking of the horror of the big tiger, his heart was even more turbulent. How strong is Lu Gu? Is Lu Gu going to kill that big tiger? Let's go help him. Su Chong said excitedly. The thought of participating in the action to kill the big tiger filled him with excitement. He had finally experienced the thrill of a hero slaying a dragon in those novels. As a result, Lu Yong slapped him on the head and scolded, "Help? Help by making things worse? Drag him down?" With their strength, they would just be delivering heads. Just as Lu Zhan was heading towards the center of the city, a post exploded on the forum and then quickly spread. "Attention all hidden class elves. A cursed elf has appeared in Donghai. Come quickly." This post listed the specifics of the curse and the huge benefits of killing the cursed person. Finally, there was an extremely eye-catching warning. This cursed person is extremely strong, at least level 14, and his profession has advanced. Those who are weak should not come to die. At first, no one noticed this post. After all, no one had come into contact with this cursed elf except for those who had received system notifications. But soon someone replied below, "Donghai, I just received a system notification, but that guy is really terrifying, otherwise I would have been on it. I didn't receive a cursed elf, but I received a divine curse, so it shouldn't be the same person, right? Upstairs, is there a dog next to that guy? That's right, could it really be the same person? Holy curse plus elf curse, good guy. This guy is defying the heavens. Killing him will get all of his experience points. Oh my god, he's at least level 14. Killing him will directly rank him first. Huang Shengren will have to rank second. Screw it, I don't care if it's real or fake. I'm pretty close to Donghai. I'm coming right away. I'll pay 10,000 gold to hold him back. Don't let him run away. If I can kill him, I'll give him 100,000 gold coins." Not long after, the news that a double-cursed person with both elf and divine curses had appeared in Donghai spread throughout the forum. The main reason was that the reward was too tempting. Just the experience points alone were enough to make everyone go crazy. What's more, such a strong person must have gold coins, equipment, skill points, and so on, so it's definitely a super treasure trove. Lu Gu, why do I feel like this place is weird? Zhang Tianfu shrank back. The closer they got to the center of the city, the stronger the strange feeling became. What else would you expect from a place where a bunch of animals live? Lu Zhan said plainly. This place was obviously the core of a city, but it had become a primitive forest. Hiss, hiss, stop, humans and monsters are prohibited from entering. At this time, a huge python hung down from the tree and roared at Lu Zhan and the others, "Hiss, if you want to pay tribute, just put it on the ground, I'll take it in." These mutated beasts allowed humans to live in this city, but they were not allowed to enter their territory. However, just as Lu Zhan wanted to say something to act cool, a thick lightning bolt shot out from the big black dog next to him. Rumble. The terrifying lightning directly bombarded the python's body. After twitching for a while, the python fell directly from the tree and was no longer breathing. Woof, 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 woof. My big electric shock is already hungry. Bei Laohei held his head high, his eyes filled with fighting spirit. Chapter 87. A time-honored axiom. The one on the left always loses. In the very center of the city, a large tiger lay sprawled on its back, paws up in the air. Sunlight streamed down upon it, creating a sensation of blissful comfort. Ever since the apocalypse, its life had become increasingly luxurious. No longer did it have to hunt for monsters itself. Food was brought right to its jaws, and its every need was catered to. No, this won't do. I'll become useless if this keeps up. A flicker of alarm sparked in the tiger's mind. It couldn't continue like this. If it continued to indulge, it would become a lazy, good-for-nothing tiger. It had a grand ambition to conquer the world. How could it allow itself to sink so low? With that thought, the tiger rolled over, sprang to its feet, and shook its entire body. Terrifying electric power crackled across its fur, almost causing the air to vibrate and crackle. It had lost count of how many monsters it had devoured. All it did every day was eat, eat, eat. Suddenly, the tiger's face twitched, and it roared. It considered itself the god of thunder, and was naturally intimately familiar with the power of lightning. Just now, it had sensed a powerful surge of electrical energy. In an instant, fierce battle intent blazed in the tiger's eyes. It had been too long since it had released its power. The next second, the tiger's body transformed into a bolt of lightning, hurtling forward. Beneath a large tree, Zhan was feeling a headache coming on. It was just too noisy. Woof, 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 woof. Roar, 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 roar. Caw, 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 caw. Moo, 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 moo. Chirp, 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 chirp. A large group of animals were howling incessantly. Ever since Bei Lao He had shocked that large python, it had alerted all the mutated beasts in the area, and they had all gathered. These creatures had gained intelligence after their mutations, and upon seeing the python's corpse, they knew that the newcomers were not to be trifled with. They were afraid to attack directly, so they just engaged in a verbal war, waiting for their boss to arrive. Roar! Just then, a terrifying bolt of lightning descended from the sky, striking the ground and blasting out a deep pit. Immediately afterward, immense pressure descended upon the entire area, and a figure slowly walked forward from the distance. The mutated beasts fell silent, scattering to both sides and clearing a path. The great king spotted the big black dog at a glance. If there were anything in this world that it thought about often, there would be only two. One was this big black dog, and another the hateful human. The great king was very surprised to see the big black dog, saying, "Roar, roar. It's you. Did you finally figure it out? Have you come to pledge your allegiance to me?" But immediately afterwards, the great king spotted the hateful human and released a bolt of lightning without a second thought. Zhan dodged the bolt of lightning with ease, laughing, "Ha ha, big cat. Long time no see. Roar. You dare to come here?" The great king glared, but its eyes were cautious. This guy had become a lot stronger in the few days it had been missing. "I didn't come to find you. It's my little brother. He wasn't happy about being beaten by you last time, so he wanted to come and get his revenge." Zhan leaped nimbly onto the branch of a large tree behind him. He didn't plan to interfere in this battle. Bei Lao He had requested it. Although Bei Lao He usually seemed unreliable, it had a very strong sense of pride. It and this big tiger were both lightning-type mutated beasts, and their duel would never allow outside interference. Moreover, Zhan also wanted to see just how strong this big black dog had become since following him. It seemed as if he had never seen the full strength of this big tiger. "Roar? You want to challenge me?" A hint of contempt appeared in the great king's eyes as it looked at Bei Lao He. Dog versus tiger. Even before the apocalypse there was an insurmountable gap. After the apocalypse, that gap could only widen. The only reason it had initially taken a liking to the dog was because it was also a lightning type. "Woof woof, big cat. Today, I'll show you who the king of thunder really is." Bei Lao He held its head high, electric currents crackling all over its body. The great king was enraged. A dog actually dared to challenge it. It pounced directly, arriving in front of Bei Lao He in an instant, and barked, "Roar, roar, roar." Since that's the case, this battle will determine the victor and the loser, as well as life and death. This was a saying it had learned from humans, and it had felt very cool at the time, and always wanted to use it in some situation. It didn't expect to use it so soon. All around, the mutated beasts scattered, with no intention of cheering for their boss. The survival rules for mutated beasts were simple. The strong are respected, and whoever is strong is king. If the great king was defeated by Bei Lao He, they would switch their allegiance to Bei Lao He in a heartbeat. In the open space, only a tiger and a dog stood facing each other. A great battle about to break out. The next second, the two mutated beasts released lightning almost simultaneously. With a deafening boom, the two lightning bolts collided in the air, and the powerful energy exploded instantly, scattering in all directions. The mutated beasts retreated dozens of meters away. It was too terrifying. The energy alone frightened them. They knew the strength of their boss, But what was the origin of this big black dog? How could it be so powerful? In the arena, the first lightning strike was a draw, and the Great King was also quite surprised. But it was nothing, it was just testing the waters. Boom! A thicker and stronger lightning bolt shot out from its body. On the other side, Bei Laohe was not afraid either. Since the other party wanted to clash lightning, then clash. Boom! 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 Lightning continued to collide and explode in midair. The tiger and dog were like two generators, competing to see who had the greater power output. On the tree, Zhan was shaking his head. This Bei Laohe was frustrating. If it was going to clash energy, it should have found a better position. How could it clash while standing on the left? As the saying goes, the one on the left always loses, and that was indeed the case. The explosions were getting closer and closer to Bei Laohe, and it was clear that the Great King's electricity was stronger. Sure enough, after nearly 8 strikes, the lightning emitted by the Great King directly overwhelmed Bei Laohe's lightning, forcibly, defeating it and hitting Bei Laohe's body. The black fur on Bei Laohe's body stood on end, and after a spasm, it fell to the ground. Roar, roar, roar. Is that all? Who gave you the guts? Liang Jingru? The Great King smiled disdainfully. As for who Liang Jingru was, didn't know. Since it had gained intelligence, the Great King had become increasingly fond of using human language. It felt very interesting. Although the strength of this big black dog was indeed beyond its expectations. But it didn't matter, everything was still under its control. Moreover, that last strike had only used 60% of its power. Just as it was about to rush up and end the ungrateful opponent with a single paw, it saw the big black dog suddenly stand up, and its body began to slowly grow bigger. In a short while, it became even bigger than the tiger. After the release of the juggernaut power, Bei Laohe's aura was fully unleashed, and electric currents flickered on its 4 dog legs, as if it was stepping on thunderclouds. The sight was extremely domineering. Woof, 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 woof. That was just a warm-up. Now the real thing starts. Chapter 88, Takeoff. Seeing this scene, the Great King's eyes changed instantly, and it actually felt a sense of threat. Since the end of the world, this was the first time it felt threatened. It had encountered many monsters, mutated beasts, and humans, killed many, and eaten many. There had never been a moment when its body instinctively sent a signal, tensing up, but this didn't scare it, but instead excited it. Its whole body shaking as it roared, roar, roar. Interesting, the current you is worthy of me going all out? As it roared, the character for King on the Great King's forehead suddenly bloomed with a purple lightning bolt, and a terrifying aura erupted. Even the Great King itself didn't know how terrifying it was when it went all out. A moment later, the Great King's entire body seemed to form a lightning storm, and its body actually flew up. On the ground, Bei Laohe was not afraid either, and the lightning on its 4 feet also covered its entire body, dragging its body towards the sky. On the tree, Zhan stood up, his face full of seriousness. Not to mention the great tiger. Even the strength that Bei Laohe burst out with now shocked him. So strong that even he was a little frightened. Forcing themselves to fly using the power of lightning, this was already a bit in the realm of immortal cultivation. Zhan shouted loudly and suddenly exerted force. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't fly. Never mind. He should rely on wings instead. Of course, if a real fight broke out, Zhan didn't think he would be unable to beat this. Dog and tiger. They were like different cultivation systems. In his opinion, mutated beasts had the flavor of natural superpowered people, mutating all sorts of abilities: gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, and other attributes. They didn't fly on their own power, but on these natural attributes. But the human professional system was completely different from these. They had skills, they had equipment, and they were more like playing online games. And mutated beasts of Bei Laohe and the Great King's strength were like hidden professions among humans, rare and powerful. It was impossible to say which of the two systems was stronger. In the sky, the dog and tiger had already flown to a height of dozens of meters, looking like 2 lightning balls from below. Not only Zhan saw it, but also people in other parts of Donghai City saw it. They looked at the sky in terror, not knowing what had happened. What is that? It's so terrifying. Why is this happening? Isn't one doomsday enough? Does another one have to come? No, look, the one in the middle of one of the lightning balls is Lord Tiger God. What's the other one? A monster? Why does it look like a dog? A dog? Are you out of your mind? How can there be such a strong dog? For a time, people all over the city were talking. Some were panicked, some were excited, and some were desperate. Is that the dog next to Lu Gu? On Lu Yong's side, Xiao Yao stared blankly at the sky. It's that dog, that's right. I saw it unleash electricity. Su Chang's eyes were full of shock and fear. Even the dog next to Lu Gu is so strong. Then how strong is Lu Gu? That's a height we can't fathom. Lu Yong looked at the sky, his eyes full of shock and longing. If he could also have such strength, would he be able to achieve his lofty ambitions? Boom! A loud noise spread throughout Donghai. The two lightning balls in the sky had their first collision. Bei Laohe and the Great King didn't intend to use any combat skills at all. Real powerhouses should confront head-on. Just like when they bombarded each other with lightning, they carried powerful lightning and collided directly at this moment. After the first collision, the two lightning balls quickly separated. The next second, they quickly approached each other again and had a second collision. Roar, enjoying this. I'll give you another chance. Become my underling. How about we rule the world together? Woof woof, I will never betray my boss, but if you want, you can follow my boss. Roar, roar, roar. Waste, how can you recognize a human as your boss? This is betrayal. Woof woof, who told you my boss is a human? The lightning balls transformed by the dog and tiger shouted nonstop while colliding in the air. They were really using both words and fists. Before long, the two mutated beasts had collided dozens of times, and it seemed as if they were evenly matched. However, Lu Zhan could see clearly below. In terms of strength alone, Bei Laohe was still weaker. Each time they collided, he could see that Bei Laohe's body was damaged to a certain extent, while that great tiger was almost only injured after 4 or 5 collisions. But Bei Laohe had inherited the super regeneration ability of the Juggernaut werewolf at the beginning, and each injury could clearly see the wound healing quickly. So unless the great tiger could directly knock Bei Laohe down with powerful destructive force, it was really hard to say who would win this battle. The Great King obviously discovered this extremely unfavorable information, and after a roar, it gave up this lose-lose fighting method. Since that was the case, it would use all its strength to directly knock down this ignorant little black dog. The next second, the character for King on its forehead bloomed with a burst of lightning again. In an instant, all the lightning on its body gathered together, forming a real lightning ball above its head. Inside the lightning ball, some purple was already appearing, showing how powerful it was. The Great King directly shook its head, and the lightning ball rushed towards Bei Laohe at an extremely fast speed, while it itself had lost the blessing of lightning and fell from the sky, directly smashing into the ground and blasting a deep pit. In the sky, the lightning ball was too fast, and Bei Laohe couldn't dodge it at all, and was hit squarely. Rumble! The Great King's lightning ball was swallowing Bei Laohe little by little. Around Bei Laohe, its lightning energy seemed to be resisting desperately. The two energies continued to collide and pull each other, and the terrifying energy spread, and even Lu Zhan was affected. The bodies of a few weaker mutated beasts began to smoke directly, and then turned into ashes and screams. Finally, Bei Laohe was still unable to block the lightning ball that condensed all of the Great King's electricity, and was swallowed whole. Boom! A huge explosion sounded, almost shaking the entire sky above Donghai. After the explosion, a body fell straight down from the sky, smashing onto the ground not far from the Great King, and also blasting a deep pit. It was Bei Laohe. A moment later, the Great King jumped out of the pit, emitting a victorious roar. The tiger no longer had the majestic look it had before, and exuded a weak aura. Obviously, the final blow consumed a lot of its energy, and it would probably not be able to recover for a while. But anyway, it won. Lu Zhan frowned and looked at Bei Laohe in another pit. This old dog was motionless, as if it had lost its breath. Could it really be dead? Lu Zhan still had a lot of feelings for it after raising it for so long. Chapter 89. As friends, ride shouldn't be too much to ask, right? Lu Zhan jumped straight down from the tree. The Great King shuddered, taking a few steps back, but then forced itself to appear calm, roaring menacingly while thoughts raced through its mind. Crap, I fought too hard. I forgot about this guy. I'm really weak right now. This guy looks pretty strong. I can't beat him. I can't beat him. How despicable, taking advantage of a tiger in its moment of weakness. Should I run? But wouldn't running away be too embarrassing? But my life is at stake. Who cares about face? No, so many of my underlings are watching. Running away would make me lose all tiger face. Damn it. If he dares to come over, I'll slap him to death. Even though I'm out of electricity, my tiger paw isn't just for show. Zhan ignored the big tiger, walking straight to the edge of the pit and peering down. He saw that Bei Laohei's body had been blown apart, with a piece missing here and a chunk missing there. It was hard to even tell what kind of animal it was without a closer look, but just that one glance reassured Zhan. Fortunately, it wasn't dead. He could clearly see the flesh on Bei Laohei's body constantly wriggling and healing, although the speed was a bit slow. If he fed it some monster meat, it should be back to its old self soon. Zhan wasn't surprised by this result. Thunder Tiger God. This was a powerhouse who would stand at the pinnacle of the entire world in the future, and even most human emperors couldn't compare. In terms of biological talent, it was definitely several notches higher than Bei Laohei. Bei Laohei was able to fight to this point entirely because of its juggernaut bloodline. Otherwise, it would have turned to ashes long ago. Then, Zhan looked at the Great King, wondering how to deal with it. It would be best if he could subdue it, then both thunder gods would become his underlings. Ride a dog in the morning, ride a tiger in the afternoon, and ride a beauty at night. Wouldn't that be a wonderful life? Unfortunately, this big tiger was clearly the type to die rather than submit, so it probably wouldn't be easy to subdue. Kill it? It wouldn't give him any experience, drop any equipment, or even any gold coins. It would be more cost-effective to kill a human. Even if he transformed it into an undead, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. After all, without the power of lightning, the great tiger's strength would definitely be greatly reduced. Perhaps it wouldn't even be as strong as the tiger demons in the undead space. Roar. Human, what do you want to do? This is my territory. The Great King seemed to sense Zhan's ill intentions and gave a warning as it retreated. Zhan ignored the warning, instead saying calmly, "Big cat, give me a reason not to kill you." He drew his sword and approached the big tiger step by step. Even if killing it wouldn't give him any benefits, the fact that it chased him down and made him run with his tail between his legs that day was enough to sentence it to death. If this were Zhan at the beginning of his rebirth, he might have considered this and that. But now, Zhan had completely let go of his heart, doing whatever he wanted and holding a grudge for even the smallest slight. Consequences? He'll worry about them when they come. Roar, roar, roar. I, the Great King, swear here that if you let me go, you will gain the friendship of us mutated beasts. The Great King was a little flustered. If it were at its peak, it wouldn't be afraid of anything. But in its current state, with its lightning power exhausted, it definitely couldn't beat this guy with just its physical body. The Great King didn't want to die, but it couldn't possibly submit. Its mind spun, and it directly proposed a compromise. Of course, most importantly, this guy was very strong, and was also the boss of that big black dog, and was qualified to be its friend. Friendship? Zhan seriously pondered. If the other party were a human, he would have already attacked, since the credibility of what humans said was only 50%. But it was the Great Tiger who said this. Then it was really worth considering. Mutated beasts were creatures that were as good as their word. Like Bei Laohei, when it said that it recognized number one as its boss, it would never go back on its word, and it was unyielding in front of this Great Tiger. So what this Great Tiger said now had 99% credibility, and it would never go back on its word. In the future world, there were three major forces: humans, monsters, and mutated beasts. Monsters definitely occupied the strongest position. Some people speculated that the reason why these monsters hadn't completely exterminated humans was because there were also adversarial restraints between different races of monsters. The relationships between those powerful top races were extremely delicate, and they often had great wars with each other. It was because of this that humans and mutated beasts had a chance to survive. As for humans and mutated beasts, the strength of the mutated beasts was stronger than that of humans in terms of individual strength, but humans had the advantage of numbers, and could barely be considered a 50-50 split. The various things that had happened along the way had given Zhan the feeling of being an enemy of the entire world. This wasn't his intention, but it seemed as if there was an invisible hand pushing him. In this situation, gaining the friendship of mutated beasts would undoubtedly be a great help to him. With the Great Tiger's future status, it could definitely represent the mutated beast race. With that thought, Zhan directly sheathed his sword, extended his hand, and said with a smile, "My name is Zhan, good friend. Let's shake hands." The Great King was wary, cautiously extending its tiger paw. Although it was very sincere, humans were treacherous and cunning, with evil hearts and full of lies, and couldn't be trusted lightly. In the end, a paw and a hand were grasped together, representing the official establishment of friendship. Roar, roar, roar. My name is Great King, Zhan, good friend. The Great King was very satisfied in its heart. This human was very sensible, submitting to its might. What was this called? In human terms, it was subduing the enemy without fighting. "Hello, brother Great King," Zhan responded. This was the first time he had learned the name of this thunder tiger god. It sounded like it was given by the zookeeper of the past. Then, a smile suddenly appeared on Zhan's face, and he said, "Brother Great King, I'm a little tired of standing. As friends, I think your back looks pretty soft and comfortable. Can you let me sit for a while?" That, as a good friend, you shouldn't mind, right? Hearing this, the character for King on the Great King's forehead immediately stood up, and it was about to get angry. Damn it. I knew this human had no good intentions. He actually wanted to ride me. Let's just break up. No, no, no. I've already promised to be friends with him. How can I break up so easily? I'm a tiger with integrity. Moreover, I can't beat him if we break up. What should I do if I get beaten to death? Actually, what he said wasn't wrong. Everyone's friends. There's nothing wrong with me, as the host, letting him sit. After all, we're friends, right? Friends should be inseparable and help each other. It's just a back. It won't cost me anything to let him sit for a while. It will deepen our friendship instead. After an intense internal struggle, the Great King finally roared, "Roar, roar, roar, good friend. What are you saying? What's mine is yours. Sit if you want to sit." After roaring, the Great King was very straightforward and directly laid down. Chapter 90. My Underling's Underling. Zhan was overjoyed in his heart. Originally, he just said it, and if the Great Tiger really disagreed, he wouldn't have killed the other party. He didn't expect the Great Tiger to really agree. Haha, riding a tiger is much better than riding a dog. In the pit, Bei Laohe suddenly twitched. It seemed to feel like it was NTR'd to his face. Zhan reached out and touched the tiger's head, frantically testing the edge of the other party's anger, and then climbed on the tiger's back. The feeling could only be described in one word. Awesome. Not only physically, more so psychologically. Riding the Thunder Tiger God. Whether in his previous life or now, he was definitely the only one. Even the 8 emperors, even those top monster races, couldn't do it. Zhan stroked the tiger fur and said, "Brother Great King, you should still have monster corpses here, right? My dog is injured like this as a friend. You wouldn't just sit idly by, right?" Roar, 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 brother Zhan. Don't worry. Since it had already been ridden, the Great King had completely let go of itself and said, "Roar, roar, roar, roar. Your underling is my underling." After speaking, the big tiger roared at the underlings who were still watching in the back. A moment later, a few monster corpses were sent up, including 3 warrior-level ones. The Great King was about to eat a few. After all, it had run out of lightning power and urgently needed to eat monsters to replenish it. But Zhan directly stopped it and said, "Brother Great King, don't mind letting my underling eat first, right? It's about to die." Although he trusted the character of this Thunder Tiger God very much, it was important to be cautious when dealing with tigers. In case this guy went back on his word, it was still best to save Bei Laohe first, and then they could definitely press this great tiger to the ground with a tunnel. Roar, roar, roar. No problem, good brother. Let's save your underling first. The Great King didn't hesitate at all, and directly threw the corpses of the 3 warrior-level monsters into the pit, and it ate the elite-level ones. Seeing this scene, Zhan was about to cry with emotion. Damn, I was looking at the heart of a gentleman with the mind of a villain. In the deep pit, Bei Laohei's body seemed to have an instinct, and it directly pulled the corpse to its mouth and then bit down. In an instant, Bei Laohei felt like it had come back to life. First, its left ear grew back at an extremely fast speed, followed by its left leg, tail. It originally had the ability to heal quickly, and after eating the corpse of a warrior-level monster, it super-accelerated the healing. On the top, the Great King had finished eating all the monster corpses in just a few seconds, but these corpses were too low-level, and even if it ate them all, it would only recover about 1/10 of its power, far from being at its peak. Roar, 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 Brother Lu, how's your rest? Can you come down now? Although the Great King had accepted the setting of being ridden, it still lost some tiger face with so many underlings watching. Brother Great King, may our friendship last forever. Lu Zhan didn't hesitate and directly jumped off the tiger's back. These things couldn't be done too much at once. They had to be done slowly. Anyway, there had already been a first time, and there would be a second time, a third time. One day, this great tiger would accept his setting as Lu Zhan's mount. Roar, 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 friendship lasts forever. The Great King was very satisfied with Lu Zhan's behavior and roared. Just then, a figure jumped out of the pit. It was Bei Laohei, and this big black dog had recovered its former style, looking at the great tiger with a face full of fighting spirit. Woof, 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 I, Gohan-san, am back again. Woof, 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 big tiger, come on, let's fight again. Although it had only recovered a little more than half of its power, that was enough. It could feel that the strength of this great tiger was far from what it used to be, and it was time to strike a tiger while it's down. Roar, 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 dog underling, Brother Lu and I have become good friends. You're his underling. Then that means you're my underling too, don't worry. I'll take you to eat good things and drink spicy things in the future. As a result, the Great King directly hooked Lu Zhan's shoulder with one of its paws, looking very intimate. Lu Zhan did the same, putting his hand on the tiger's head and stroking it and said, "That's right, Lao Hei. We're all one of us in the future. There's no need to call for a fight." Bei Laohei's eyes widened directly, and its mind was blank, only with questions. Who am I? Where am I? What just happened? After a full half a minute, Bei Laohei, who had recovered, roared with some embarrassment and anger. Woof, 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 who is your underling? It wasn't roaring at the Great King, but at Lu Zhan. The Great King looked at Lu Zhan with a puzzled expression, and the meaning was obvious. Isn't it your underling? Lu Zhan laughed directly and said, "It's not really my underling. It's my underling's underling." Damn, this dog was also stupid. It had to lower its status. Sure enough, the Great King looked like it had just realized and said, "Roar, roar, roar. So it's the underling's underling. Then that's the little underling." Roar, roar, roar. Hello, little underling. The big brother just used a little too much force. Please don't blame me. Woof, woof, woof. Bei Laohei wanted to cry but had no tears, and directly jumped into the deep pit again, pretending that it had never come out. Lu Zhan couldn't help but laugh out loud. This was a rare time for him to have a good mood. Compared to humans, he was still more willing to be friends with these mutated beasts. Simple and direct. Unlike humans, who were complicated in their minds, with too many twists and turns. So even for Lu Zhan now, only Lu Yong could be counted as half a friend among humans. The others were only three kinds of people: enemies, passersby, and tool people. Roar, 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 good brother. You wait here. I'll have the humans outside send some food in. The Great King was very happy, having made a new friend, and prepared to treat him well. However, as soon as it finished speaking, the expression on its face suddenly froze, and the character for king on its forehead wrinkled. Lu Zhan was the same, looking at the great tiger with a serious face. Just now, he felt several terrifying auras approaching. With a boom, the old dog in the deep pit also jumped out. At the gate of the city, all the guards on the city wall were motionless, staring blankly ahead, and didn't even notice when the weapons in their hands fell to the ground. Most people would instinctively run away when they encountered danger, but if they were in extreme fear, their bodies would not be able to react at all. These guards were like this, just because in the front, countless monsters were running madly towards Donghai City. From the ground to the sky, it was like a dark cloud pressing down on the line. And at the very front of this group of monsters, a fiery red dragon was flying in the sky. The monster attack? It was unknown which guard finally broke through the terror in their hearts and roared towards the city.